Next on an MP9 though, he doesn't want to actually wait, pushes straight in, and it's Captain Mo who just continues to rack up the frags. Brings himself up to 4, looking for the ace. It doesn't go that way, and he gets himself a nice little 3K. Perfect flash here as well. Angel with a speedy little ace. Lines them up, it's a third! There we go. Good morning, it's day 2 of the Supernova CSGO here in Malta, and yesterday we had more than a set of action-packed games. We looked at just crazy results, unexpected plays, and finally Liquid taking over NRG. But before we get into day 2, we're going to have a little look back at what happened yesterday, and joining me on the desk is none other than Maniac and Mitch. Mitch is back at it again. You're ready and waiting. No crazy shirt this time though, mate.
I calmed down a little bit yesterday. We had a crazy night, so we gotta relax.
Reel it back in just a little bit.
I think today is going to be a little bit more of relaxed Counter-Strike. You know, we haven't got the likes of Liquid in there, but close matches coming up. It's going to be exciting. Yeah,
there's certainly potential for it. Maniac, how are you feeling? Obviously, yesterday you got to chill out in the morning, but now you're here on the early graveyard shift with us.
Yeah, I feel like yesterday was a good, getting in the zone. They went to the gym, I enjoyed a little bit. Then we got to Counter-Strike, some crazy games, and now today I'm ready.
Yes.
I'm set for the whole event. I'm winning for this domestic matchup. VP Kinguin has everything to it.
That was one of our main talking points at the end of yesterday, right? We got treated with NRG versus Liquid. We were like, cool, this is the matchup, this is this is what we wanted to see. That whole little, can they turn it around? Liquid did manage to do it. Now they don't have to play again today. But the main one we looked at was, and here you go, the match is on your screen now, is the hype that's going to be now bringing early morning here for the Polish little derby here. We got Kinguin going up against Virtus Pro first thing. And remember, all the games are best of 3 here today. Then we're going to have Big going up against Gambit Esports as Mitch coughs his way through the early opening segments here.
I muted the mic, don't worry.
And then we'll be seeing NRG play up against one of the winners and Tyloo on their next one as well. Now, the crazy thing is that obviously most people would have expected the big situation to be where Tyloo is right now. That was kind of the early storyline we had there. Maybe a slow start, things for them to turn around, but we know Big thrive in the best of 3s. And then when it comes to NRG, well, they had a close game against Kinguin, which may kind of worried us a little bit, but then going into the best of 3 against Liquid, especially on that last map, Liquid just looked dominant.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about the Big game, I think one of the big pluses of Big as a team is the preparation. So the thing is, I don't know how much they can prepare against Gambit. Gambit is really nothing to prepare. They are here with Bondik playing as a 5th, and there are new players there. So not much to ground to build on. So still, Big should take it. They're not going to be in that comfort zone where they know what their opponent is going to do. I know they watch a lot of demos and they usually prepare really well.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to do against Gambit. They should still take it.
And that's the thing, right? It's should still take it, right? But there's always that question mark because we've seen it many times with Gambit and teams like that where they can just play a little bit of a looser style, come out and rely on the crazy aimers. And the young man, the 16-year-old Axel, he literally impressed us beyond belief because we very much said that, okay, he's new, this is a step up for him. He had one little stint for a few months in Flipside. He was like on a trial, it didn't work out. Now he's got the call up to Gambit and it's time for him to deliver. And he certainly did yesterday. So I'm excited to see him back in action.
Absolutely. I mean, he was a very impressive young guy. And talking about the young guys, it was VP yesterday. They had Mihu and Snatchy, the players to really step it up over on that team when they were having their interesting game over on Train. We didn't think we'd go to an overtime up against, oh no, that was Kinguin, sorry. It was Mirage, Liquid, right?
Yes,
Liquid Mirage.
It's where they started to come back a little bit after being
they got us sweating a little
on.
bit. And Kinguin had the overtime against NRG. I think both of these teams are really coming in on their A game. And it's what we said at the start of the tournament, right? Everybody here has something to prove. Liquid got to prove that they can actually win a tournament outside of CS Summit 2. You've got the likes of NRG. They want to prove they're better than Liquid, that they're in that top NA spot. And then the likes of Kinguin, VP, they're fighting for relevance these days. This Kinguin slowly climbing the ladder, VP slowly descending it. So like everybody has something to fight for here, even if it's not that top spot. But I think that I'd be really worried if I see Big drop to Gambit. That'll be a pretty worrying sign for them.
Yeah, and I think as well, worrying signs we saw yesterday was Tyloo, right? Because the first map, we were like, oh, okay, look, they gave Hellraisers a bit of a run for their money on Dust 2. It's kind of what we expected. Hellraisers closed it out. But then when it came to Mirage, a map that we would say is a normal stomping ground for Tyloo to be kind of like the mad fraggers, they really got shy of that early on. It wasn't the Tyloo we normally see, and we came down to it, and we're speaking about Benta, for example, not fragging as much, but it just seemed like something was missing.
Yeah, so here's the thing for me and Tyloo. They can come into game and have it like an A plan. They know what they're supposed to do, and if it works, they're going to look very impressive because they have mechanically extremely skilled players.
Definitely.
They are fearless. So yes, they can have very good games. But when teams like Hellraisers yesterday go up in their faces, don't let them, use what they're supposed to do and use their tactics. Suddenly you can see the flaws kind of come and crack up. It's like when you're around where there is not a planned response to what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
That's where they make a little bit of a mistake. That's why, for example, Angel had so much room to find opening frag on the Mirage game. So this is where they need to improve. It's where there is no dictated answer or dictated response to what's happening. It's supposed to be experience, supposed to be game sense, decision making. In that sense, for me, that's what separates them really from the top, because the mechanical skill is here, and I think the attitude is here. And yes, the communication, that's a big challenge for them. But they decided to do that. Now they have to make the best out of it.
And that's the thing, right? It's now kind of do or die for them. They don't want to be going home early on. But they got a little bit of breathing time, right? They get to see how this all kind of pans out for them. But our opening game, Kinguin versus Virtus Pro. I am sure many people are excited to see this, just like we are, because this isn't just like seeing Taz go up against Neo again, right, in his old team. This is a very much the story of the new Polish players coming through, getting to play with some of the most experienced players, like some 15 years experience playing Counter-Strike at the professional level. That's on its own is insane and impressive at the same time. And now we've got this mix of the young guys with some of the more experienced guys. Who is going to shine the most? And we've already seen that, okay, both teams, they want to prove that, okay, we are the #1 Polish team.
Yeah, absolutely. This is like, and we've seen the young guys step it up, right? Like they've got that mentorship there, and they've got the individual skill to do it. I think that it's going to be a bit of a grind, a bit of a battle. I mean, the last time we saw these guys playing, it was a close matchup. I mean, what it finished 16-14 on Cash, the third map of the best of 3 for VP to take it. So it was 2-1 to VP, but only barely. I mean, it was a really close match, and I think we're going to see pretty much a carbon copy of that. I'd be surprised to not see the likes of Mirage and Cash coming out. It's a comfortable map for both teams, and they kind of fall back on that nuke, right? They're both pretty comfortable there.
Now, before we go any further, we get a lovely thing to hear from Taz in a little interview he did. So before this game, let's see what Taz thought about how this might go down, and we know he loves to be very confident in these situations.
Greetings. Joining me for an interview is a man who needs no introduction and is a Counter-Strike legend in his own right, Kinguin's Taz. All right, so it has been nearly a month since you attended your last CSGO LAN event. What have you been doing since? How have you been preparing?
We actually had like 2 events lately, which we played terrible. And we tried to prepare for upcoming times where we have a lot of LAN events, but we had also crazy amount of online games, which we had to actually win to have a chance on different kind of leagues. So currently it's extremely hard for like 2nd tier, 3rd tier teams to go to LANs, because all the teams who are below, top 10, they need to play crazy amount of online games. And even if you are in like good form, you still have no time to fix stuff because you constantly need to play official games. So for us, it's more about mental preparation, and we try to talk a lot in a team, and we try to be ready for games.
Right now, I want to ask you about the Polish scene in general. Would you say that it is in the best state it has been since the release of CSGO?
I believe that it's actually in worst state it has ever been, because it feels like what I had the same interview. I had some interview on HOT York some time ago, and I said that Polish players lack ambition, and I still think the same. I just feel that we lack times when there was no money, there was no professional gaming and stuff like that. It was only like hardcore gaming and having fun and a dream in your head, You actually had a time when ambition was something special, something, which could give you a dream come true. And nowadays it's like you get the contract, you're happy, or you gain like even 500 euro for nothing, in Polish team and stuff like that. I know that the times are changing and esports is becoming bigger and bigger, but the thing is that I believe that we lack ambition, definitely.
Yeah, times are definitely changing. Like there has been this very interesting transition in the Polish scene. Like there's no longer Virtus Pro, who is like the top team in the scene, and then there are the lower ones, but there are like 3-4 teams who are consecutively competing with each other. Would you say that that actually helps the scene grow, or does it actually slows it down a bit because there's like there isn't this big team which beats everyone?
I truly believe that when we had a VP in past, it was the best for Polish teams, for Polish players, not teams, because Polish players had someone to look up to, and it was also some kind of building a dream. Like when we went to major, won the major, when we went to big events and we won big events, like Polish players were watching all over the world, and they were playing the game, and they were like believing that maybe one day they can be also that big. And when you actually see the downfall of VP for a long time, the change of players and stuff like that, it's like tearing heart from Polish scene, at least for me. And we need to learn and adapt how to move on, and we need a top team very, very much, because it feels like Polish players need someone to look up to. If you don't have anyone to look up to, everyone thinks that they are good. And if you know that there's a great team in your country, then you want to join this great team. Then you're motivated to practice more, you're motivated to work on your craft more. And I think that that's what every country has, and that's why Denmark is such great in Counter-Strike. Like you always had TSN, you always had Astralis, even in 1.6 you had MTW, right? You always had the behemoth of Counter-Strike in this country, and that's why they are so great, same with Sweden.
Mm-hmm. Now, like these other teams, like they all seem to want to become this great Polish team. So Kinguin specifically, you know, what makes your team special or better even compared to the other teams in Poland?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I think that I have a strong belief that we have a good background. We have a really good approach when it comes to tactic and the way we want to play the game. With us, it's more about execution, which really fails us time and time again. Even when you watch our game against NRG, this was the game that we let go away a couple of times during the game. And you just see us doing this constantly. It's not even fun, or it's not even interesting. It's more like we need to work on certain aspects, and if we work on these certain aspects more and more, I think that we can be a top team in the world. But it's very hard to talk about it, because for me it's just this 0.5%, 1% of work. It's like when you think that you will play for 2 weeks, you'll be great. No, it's not like that. You work like half a year to have a 1% upgrade or 2% upgrade. That's how you work. And I think that the way we lose rounds is very, this is the hard way you need to work on. It's like, this is this 0.5%. If we move forward, then I think we are on totally different level.
Right, now looking forward, in the very near future, you will actually have the close qualifier for the major. And with the major being hosted in your home country, how confident do you feel about your chances about going the distance and actually making it to the major?
I think we have a good chance. With a correct approach and preparation, I think we have a good chance to go to the major qualifier. But you can see the teams that are in major qualifier, in minor, right? Minor qualifier. They are crazy, crazy teams like Mousesports, like Optic North, to mention few. And then you go to next step, which is like on LAN qualifier, and it's like you need to play against the 8 best teams from current qualifier, which will be like even harder. And if you even go there, top 3, you are going to even harder qualifier for majors. So I don't like the overall system of the major. I believe that there should be more like a point system, like in Dota 2 or stuff like that. Because currently, if you are out of Legends status or Challenger status, your way up back to major is like, yeah, good luck.
Now, your last big LAN event in 2018 is actually Supernova Malta. So did you put in any special preparation for this event?
We talk a lot. We don't have time to practice because we have a few LANs during last month, and we just didn't have time to actually work on our craft to fix the mistakes. But I believe that the mistakes we are doing are mostly mistakes due to lack of experience overall. And I think that if we can move our head and motivation, I mean not motivation because we don't have motivation problem, we have problem with finishing the games. So if we are able to finish 1 or 2 games, I think that we can win this event. But it's Counter-Strike. Everything can happen, and one bad day can ruin your chances, and one good day can actually give you a huge boost for the rest of the event. So we will see. I believe that every team here has a chance to win, and it will be a fun day tomorrow.
Now, you've touched on this a little bit in your answer right now, but looking at the next year, like, what do you think your team needs in order to become a contender for titles?
I think we need a couple wins on LAN. It's not about tournament wins. It's about wins against top tier teams like NRG or Liquid or Astralis, let's say. I can tell you that the team that goes to LAN and win against Astralis in best of 3 has a boost for like half a year, because that's kind of opposition that you face. You don't only face players on server, you also face the fear in your head, the players you learned from, the players who you actually put on the top of your head when you want to learn something. So if you beat them, if you beat better players, you kind of get some power from them. They are not losing anything, but you are gaining some. And I believe that with more wins on LAN, you are gaining more and more confidence. And I believe that we are able to actually put it in the right direction in this team. We just need some wins.
Well, Victor, I know that I and thousands of other fans at home are cheering for you and believe in you, so I want to wish you best of luck moving forward.
Thank you, my friend.
My, oh my, what an insightful interview from Taz there. He is a man that gives us the hard-hitting facts, but he's also a man that's very honest with it as well. Very much, I think the first part is just how much their practice schedule was affected in terms of how many online games they're having to play. He's saying, like, we just can't sit down and dedicate time to just pure practice when you must qualify, right? And it's crazy that both VP and Kinguin are in MDL of all things, right? That's the level of competitive Counter-Strike we're at now. It's just a grind out there for some of these teams trying to make it.
Yeah, it is true. Even more so when you're not, part of the teams that get invited to events. You have to fight your way through every time, and then you have to make a decision. Do we prioritize practice, or do we play disqualifier? Do we play disqualifier? And I think it's a thin line, and it's not so easy to keep like the straight balance. But obviously, when you're a team, what you want to do is play on LAN. You want to be here. You want to play on these stages. So sometimes you're going to go for qualifiers, but you need to practice. So how do you improve and at the same time play the qualifiers? That's the big question. For almost all of teams, even the top teams have that issue that they have to prioritize some LANs over others, So it's definitely not easy. It's one of the big difficulties of Counter-Strike just in general.
Now, he was also saying about just the whole kind of Polish scene and where they're at the moment. And he was, again, he said this maybe, I think it was like a half a year ago or so. But he's saying the same thing again, that the Polish scene lacks motivation in terms of, okay, they all got the money now and stuff like that. He was saying, obviously, he's going back to the very beginning of like where it was hardcore, the money wasn't there. It was all about, we want to play, we want to win, we want to do well. And he kind of seems to be accrediting that to a bit of like why we've seen such a drop-off. Now, that's quite an interesting point because, like, for example, the Astralis, the Liquids and stuff like that, money didn't change their scenes in that way, in that sense. So his point is maybe very specific to them in general.
Well, obviously, he has a point, and I'm going to be honest, we could talk about that for 10 hours, because that is...
By the way, we could literally do a podcast off his interview only.
But just like the financial aspect, obviously it has changed a little bit our environment. Yes, some years ago, the only goal, your only objective was to be the best. Would it be the best of your street, or your city, your region, then your country? But we were just playing to be the best, and thankfully, and I'm very glad for Counter-Strike, yes, some money came in and it changed lives, but then how do you keep your motivation that up when you feel like you're secure for the coming years? It's a challenge, and obviously you mentioned Astralis, Liquid, these teams, they have kind of figured out that issue. They have put the money a little bit aside and kept their head straight on the goal and to win. But that's not easy, and everyone has to ask themselves the question: do I do this for the money? Do I do this for the win? Because depending on your answer, your investment is going to be different.
Now we come on to looking at these head-to-head results. Now there was an all online games, all MDL games where we sat where both these teams are in. Now the first one was just a best of 1, Dust 2, Kinguin took it. Then in the best of 3, Virtus Pro took it. But the difference here is that last map of Cash being so close. One of the things Taz also mentioned is we struggle to close out games. They showed that yesterday against NRG when they made an impressive comeback. It looked like NRG's not got a chance now because Kinguin are on a roll, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, yesterday I had that feeling, even though obviousNRG was supposed to win that game. So I don't think it's fair to say, Kinguin threw it. It wouldn't be fair. But they clearly had the opportunity to close it at the end. They had a few clutches, few individual decisions, few, shaky, we call it shaky wrist in French. They had a few of these moments where I was looking and I was like, no, oh, that's the opportunity, you need to close the round. And then the slip-up happens. And you know, you look at Kinguin, yes, they have been playing for a while, but Taz is really the only one who's, for a long time been at the higher level. So a little bit of a lack of experience, and that's probably why they struggle to close games. But let's see how the Vita goes down.
Yeah, the straightaway ban of Inferno from Kinguin, which makes sense. Overpass out for VP. And then do we just sit in the middle ground where we go Mirage, Cash, and potentially Nuke again or something like that?
So far, it's pretty logical, right? Those are the permanent bans of both teams. I don't know what you think about the picks.
Yeah, well, you're not going to get any other bans there at the start, but the picks, I could see it being Mirage or Cash. I think maybe they'll, considering how frequently these guys play each other, somebody might have something in their back pocket. I mean, look, at the moment, Nuke is certainly going to be a decent pick for Kinguin. They had a very convincing there you go. They had a very convincing win up against VP on it. Last time they played, it was 16-5. So there's not too much of a surprise there. I think, there you go, Mirage. It's what VP like to fall back on. This is basically a carbon copy of the last veto. Now all we need to do is ban down to Cash and we've got a rematch.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And when you look at Kinguin's map in general, you have Nuke and Train, who are both very good maps. If they can have one, they're probably going to go for Nuke. I suspect Virtus.pro is not going to allow Train to be the last map. But then what would it be? That would be Dust 2. That would be interesting, right?
This is VP's
because VP has to make a choice now. Exactly. They take away Train from Kinguin, which makes sense. We know it's one of their best maps.
Yeah.
They go for Dust 2, but I have to say I don't have that much information. If he goes to third map, I might as well just look at the game and see what happens, because not much to go on Dust 2 for these teams.
No, they're right. They had that best of one against each other on it, but again, it's a best of one. It was online, so how much can you really read into that? Now, Nuke, Kinguin, they love this map. Okay, the caliber of teams are maybe not so impressive, but this is the kind of level where Kinguin and VP are both sat at the moment. Virtus.pro, on the other hand, the team that used to be known for their Nuke play, not something they really want to play or pick into, and the results kind of show that right now.
I think one of the things here is that even though they might not be the large caliber of teams, Kinguin had a really poor showing against Heroic on one of I can't remember which map it was in that grand final. There were 5 maps, but that's a 16-4 victory on Nuke. It's a map that they're very comfortable on, and they're consistent at it, right? They always have, when they come up against teams that are strong on Nuke, they win it, and it's a close series. But when they come up against teams that it's kind of a middle ground, or they're like, okay, they stomp them. And I think, considering the fact that they had such a good performance there against VP the last time they played, like, what, 2-3 weeks ago, I think it's definitely going to favor them coming into Nuke. But you got to think, right? We talk about it. When you lose, you learn. I think VP will have looked back at what went wrong for them, and there's certainly a plethora of information out there. You know, they only won 5 rounds, so they have a lot to learn from. And we could see them coming at Kinguin with a very different approach to last time.
No, I agree with you. It's just, as you say, 16-5, the difference is so big, it's really hard to get like real big conclusions out of it.
Sure.
And also, one point that I want to make is, sure, Virtus.pro used to be a team, notably, that was pretty comfortable on Nuke. They would never ban it. They would always play it if they had to. They had a pretty good T side. But Taz was there. Taz is now in Kinguin. I'm making hypotheses here. I'm not saying that's the truth. Maybe he was the one who felt comfortable with the map. Maybe he was helping with the calling. Maybe, you know, that we always have like affinity or like preferences in the map that you play as an individual and you feel it, you know, you sense the map. Who knows? Maybe that's the case for Taz. He has a feeling for Nuke. He went from VP to now Kinguin, and now maybe they are left in a situation. I mean, VP are left in a situation where they don't really know, you know, what to do on the map, what used to work. And in that sense, maybe Taz just went away and stole all the secrets, took the treasure with him, and, you know, went to Kinguin. I'm not sure if that might come into play.
The thing is that it's a true possibility, right? Because we all see players, they have that one map where they're like, cool, this is my golden map. This is where not only do I perform, but I know the ins and outs. And we remember this. We saw it yesterday, right, in the game. If you're going to hear anyone, it's going to be Taz, loud and proud and giving it his all, and also motivating all of them. We just see Rallan starting to shout off there, which means I know we must be getting ready for it. But this VP lineup, right, we've got a situation now where Pasha hasn't played too well across the board, right, and he is the person who at least was performing the best out of them, right? So we bring the new players in. Okay, at the moment, we don't really expect Neo to be doing all that much work, but at least in Pasha, I expect him to be able to deliver at this point.
And that's what's frustrating, right? When you think about the young guns of Virtus.pro, right? Mishu, Morel, Snatchy, 3 performing players, in my opinion. Can you imagine if Neo and Pasha could pick it up? Suddenly, you would have a team that makes much more sense with the good balance of experience and young players. I just want to say, the last month, obviously, was more on the internet, but VP seems like they're come back to life a little bit. They've taken like series against Fnatic in ECS, they took a map from FaZe, they won against LDLC, for example. So it does feel like they are slowly but surely getting back on a good form. That's only based off 1 month, so limited conclusion. But coming into this game, I surely feel like they are on the rise, or some kind of rise. And I think also it's a domestic matchup with a lot of pressure, and this is where experience is going to show, and I would give them that advantage over Kinguin.
Yeah, and I think that's quite fair to say at this point as well, right? You've got a couple of the more experienced players in there. You've got this kind of, it's an overall kind of, I guess, a shining star there in terms of what Virtus Pro have, because it is, you've got the 2 players who are used to this environment more
and
so
the coach,
than most, and the coach coming in as well. And it's been a long, drawn-out situation. While Kinguin, Taz said it in his interview, right? Just for them to try and improve 1-2%, 6 months' work needs to go into it, and they haven't had that time to put into the practice plays.
Yeah, that's always a problem, like we were saying earlier on. And talking about the young guys, I mean, Rollin was really impressive yesterday in that train matchup when they were against NRG. You know, I was taking a look back at the demo. It seemed like he was able to pretty much work any part of the map, where they were positioning him towards B, Ivy. He was going aggressive on Ivy. He was going aggressive on Pop Dog, a main. I think that I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can get up to on Nuke, because if he can start to move around that map with the same kind of freedom, it could certainly be interesting, because a lot of the time you can use a player like that with a 4-man setup and then a flex player just moving around getting kills everywhere.
I'm smiling because I remember playing against Rollin in those FPL league, and he was a pain in my B, like deeply. I hated playing against him. He was the kind of player who always had like smoke tricks and the timing. And you know, when you play Pug FPL, you want to take it a little bit easy, but no, he was always there with the timing ready to backstab you, and I would be like, what are you doing, Rollin? So yeah, definitely that he can be an annoying player.
It raging now. I can just see
but
it.
I was doing it a very Swiss way, respectfully with the coma and everything. Like, but yeah, Rollin can be annoying. He's kind of when he has a lot of autonomy and when he's feeling it, he can have a lot of impact on the game. And I think that's one of the spearhead of Kinguin as a team if he shows up.
Sure.
Now, and let's get into prediction time, guys.
Okay.
Let's get this underway. And I'm going to start off with VP for myself. My reason behind it is, although I felt like Kinguin was a better team yesterday, I think as this draws out in terms of the series, I think it's VP's kind of overall experience and what they'll bring to the table as maybe the team that's been there kind of the longest in terms of that, right? I want to see that kind of come to fruition. But if we see an early stomp come out here from Kinguin, then we know how motivated and happy they can get. So I'm going with VP for starters. Where are you guys going?
I think I'm also going to go with VP for 2 reasons. One being, I think they are in a better dynamic on the short term compared to Kinguin. Last month, as I said, they've picked up nice wins against pretty good teams.
Yeah.
The other one is, I would give them the benefit of the doubt when handling the emotions behind the matchup. This is a very special matchup. I would give them that edge on that side. It's going to be probably a 3-map series, but I would give them to VP.
I'd agree with it being a 3-map series. I'm going to swing more towards Kinguin, though. I feel like if they can build up the momentum on Nuke, maybe start to separate the young guys from the old over on VP and dismantle a bit of the mentality, they could definitely have a shot. And I think there's no shortage of motivation on either team. I'd really like to see Kinguin take this.
All right, well, let's see how it's going to go down. Thank you very much, guys. It's time for us to get into the game and see how this one is going to go. It's our first best-of-3 series for today, and it's time to see if the Bears from Virtus Pro can take down the Penguins. It's not a fair matchup if you look at it in the animal world, but it certainly is on the server, and Scriv and Dean are going to be taking you through all the action.
Thank you very much, James. Yeah, I think that's quite a good little roundup, to be fair, the Bears and the Penguins, but I don't know about this one. I think it's going to be a relatively kind of close game. There's obviously rivalries between the brands. A few of the younger players know each other, and the older players obviously having played together. I don't think it's quite clear-cut. Nuke's going to be interesting. We'll see if VP, they've had some results on it that have not been too bad, but for the most part, it's like Kinguin all over on that map, it seems, at the moment. So I think if VP have worked on things, Nuke could be a really interesting starting point for both these teams.
Yeah, I think Nuke definitely coming into that one, I would put a pretty heavy favorite towards Kinguin. And honestly, overall, I feel like coming into this, the maps have worked out a little bit better for Kinguin because they have, of course, Nuke, which is heavily favored for them, and then put Mirage as maybe just a little bit of an advantage for VP, and then going into Dust 2, I'd keep that as kind of a middle ground. So yeah. I feel like coming into this one, Kinguin will be very happy with the way the veto is gone, and if they kind of get themselves off to that solid start there on Nuke, going into Mirage, it could be a close one, and they could maybe even manage to come out with this one with a 2-0. So I think personally, I'm going to go with Kinguin in this overall series, whether it's a 2-0 or a 2-1. I just think either way, they are going to end up taking taking it in the end.
Yeah, you know, I'm kind of on the same kind of thought pattern, honestly. I feel like Kinguin, yeah, should be able to take this one kind of on the desk. It seemed a little bit more split, but we'll have to see. The pistol is getting started already fairly quick into the action. It's a very, very fast hit coming in from Kinguin that's working out really well. Pasha does manage to trade one back. It's all onto Mihu, though, and can't really get it done. So a crazy little hit out onto that A site just immediately rocks the VP camp, and they just absolutely demolish that pistol.
Yeah, the round had just barely begun, and already they just had their way out straight onto that A-bomb site. And a couple of quick kills coming in made it a bit difficult for VP to try and actually hold it down. And Kinguin going to go ahead and get themselves off to a solid start. Picking up that T-pistol round, they should be, at least most likely, VP going for that full eco coming into this round, although we do see they've actually gone ahead and forced up. A scout going to be coming out for Pasha, everyone else on the pistols, and some Kevlar. A little bit of utility to back it up as well, but not really all that much. Some good damage at least being connected to begin the round. It's Pasha on that scout. If he can go ahead and just chip down a couple of players towards outside and give those pistols a bit of an easier time, that would be absolutely perfect, or else he can just go ahead and rip the head off of Rallen.
Yeah, I think this is the thing. Nuke is a map that kind of does hand itself to the Force buys on that CT side. We are seeing it here. You know, Pasha, as yet to be dealt with, going to go for another peek around here. Does actually miss the first shot, but I think, yeah, Neo comes in from, what, behind and manages to pick up a couple with the P250. This is a little bit of a blunder from Kinguin. Down to Manice and Taz to try and clean things up, it would appear. They're both on relatively low HP. Both left on 3 now. Mihu is the only one remaining, but he's recovered an AK. One would have thought this should be easy enough for him. Manages to isolate the first 1v1 against Taz, and Manice still has to retrieve the bomb. Maybe if he can surprise Mihu by coming out of Mini here. He's actually going to move towards the vents, though. There's plenty of time for him to go for kind of the long con play and hope to just appear behind Mihu, but honestly, it looks like Mihu is positioning himself relatively well, not making a great deal of sound, but covering off most of the angles.
That may have actually given away his position. I think Maniz, because of that, does have a good idea about where he's located. He puts down the smoke. Yeah, but he doesn't really give it enough time to bloom, so he is still spotted and finished off. With 3 health, there wasn't really too much that he could do. The second Mihu had vision, it was pretty much over having that AK at the mid-range. A very easy kill for him to finish off. So good work coming into that one. Pasha able to actually come out with 4 assists on that scout.
Yeah.
I said he really would be the crucial point of that force buy because he could tag them down. It allowed for the flank to come in with that P250 as well and go ahead and finish off a couple of players, and then Mihu in the end able to clutch out that 1-on-2. And you can see Kinguin, after falling to the pistols, instantly going to be coming in with his tactical pause, wanting to ensure that they can go ahead and stabilize themselves early on. That's definitely an upset there being taken down, but it's still very early days. It's all about just grinding those rounds out on the T side. And they can afford to just go ahead and take this pause here, maybe discuss things. I'd like to see them maybe take an eco, but the problem is, of course, they didn't get a bomb plant, so they're pretty much on a double eco no matter what. So I would expect us to see some form of a force buy coming in here.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a problematic one for Taz, especially to kind of deal with there. I think it is that classic case of Pasha on the scout. They all focus on him because it was Neo from behind who devastated, you know, and capitalized on the tags that Pasha had landed. Easy enough for his P250, but yeah, like I say, they just have to be careful not to tunnel too much. I think that's what they call it in MOBAs especially, where you just tunnel for the kill. But force buy coming in from Kinguin here. They're seemingly making their way down secret. Pasha's not doing the best of jobs holding that down. Actually ends up falling. Bit of a taste of his own medicine as Manice on the scout will clean him up. But there's a hell of a lot of control here for this T-side outside area, of course. And now they're just kind of deciding what they want to do with it. They could go down in towards secret, in towards B, or they could, you know, try and wrap around hell. Taz has fallen, though, as Snatchy is kind of holding on to things here. Mihu already preemptively on that B site. Reitz, though, has made his way up. Expecting Snatchy to still be here, but he's already moved away.
Definitely still a winnable position here for Kinguin. It was strange that Taz kind of went for that peek on his own, but look at this. Neo had tried to get aggressive. He had pushed in towards hell and does end up getting dropped. Morel's going to look to try and come in with a trade. Long range on that MP9. Eventually finds it, but having been tagged up beforehand, he's an easy finish for Reitz. So it does once again come into a position where Kinguin do actually have a man advantage. But as you can see, the clock, it's getting low. There's 25 seconds now for him to work with. and they do need to go ahead and take this bomb onto one of those sites, and they're going to have to try and fight for it. Mihu with the AK ready over towards ramp. He has been able to connect some damage, but it's down on B now where the bomb is trying to be planted, and an emphasis on trying, of course, because Snatchy has gone ahead and flanked the round through the lower door, able to go ahead and deny that one, and I don't think there's really much now that can be done. Rallen going to try and tap it, but the time not going to be sufficient. He gets the first kill and the second, but it's just a little bit too late. Time already hitting that 0 mark, of course.
Yeah, that is a little bit of a shame, actually. It was maybe an extra couple of seconds. He may well have been able to secure that one. So again, it's one of those situations. VP, they win the round, sure, but they lose everybody in that situation. There's only really Snatchy that had built up a fair amount of money. I think he actually dropped an M4 across to Pasha and buys himself an MP9. Everybody else on MP9s actually as well. So trying to earn some bank. It's going to be another force-up from Kinguin. Again, not the cleanest of starts in this game. We saw a lot of messy starts yesterday. It seems it's continuing here, but the pistols are overwhelming this A site right now. There's a couple of kills picked up for the CT side, but not a great deal of fighting that they can do. Snatchy is waiting to strike, waiting for the flash to come in. He takes down Rallen, another for Mihu. It's all down to Reitz, who's trying his best, but cannot control the spray on the MP9. Snatchy will deal with him and save the round for Virtus Pro. They get a third on the board, but again, it is very, very costly.
Yeah, Kinguin are going to have to probably go ahead and finally take that eco. They've forced that into a good few rounds now in a row, of course, and can't really do so anymore. They got the bomb plant at least. That'll go ahead and actually boost up the buy that they're going to be able to find coming into that round afterwards, but if they bought now, I'd be a little bit surprised. But then again, they do have enough for 3 AKs, so I guess it's really how they're feeling. They were able to once again get some good damage done, and off the back of that, they do actually decide that they're going to go ahead and fully invest into this one. Should have 3 AKs. The scout on Taz. Meniz, I'm not sure what he bought up exactly. He doesn't have a weapon in his hand as of yet. I did see a scout, but I'm pretty sure that was the one that Taz had actually purchased up.
I suppose usually this would be maybe a little bit questionable from Kinguin to continually force in this way. But I think because we're on Nuke here and they're on the T side and they obviously have a lot of confidence in their CT side. We saw yesterday on Train how good it was against NRG to mount that comeback. I feel like forcing here, the idea behind it is that eventually when they do win a round, because they're pulling them so close for VP, only surviving with, 1 or 2 or even none in some of the rounds, I think that when Kinguin actually cleanly win a round, it's really going to reset that CT side economy, allow them to get a good foothold in on their T side and just string together a few rounds. And we generally say kind of 5 or 6 is a really good level. Well, not really good, but kind of like a good level on Nuke.
Yeah, something that they could definitely be happy with. But yeah, I kind of agree with this force buy. As you said, the fact that they've kept the economy so low. On Nuke, it's one of those maps where when the CTs can really get their economy rolling, that's when it does become the CT-sided map. Otherwise, it can be quite difficult because they need that utility, etc.
Yeah.
If the CTs have their economy in a poor place where they can just keep getting reset, then it can really just be very difficult for them to try and actually hold down because outside can be exploited very easily. And I do agree with the fact that Kinguin have gone ahead and bought up into this because they know that they've been able to keep it extremely moderate. I'd imagine coming into this one that we might even see VP again working with a couple of SMGs, not being able to pull out all 5 rifles. And I think it will be pretty similar buys overall for both sides. We do, of course, have a technical pause.
Yeah, I think it's Morel's here, right? I think he's using a wireless mouse. They seem to be trying to sort that out, it looked like. I'm just kind of beating around the bush, though. I'm not entirely sure at this point. And obviously we can see him up here on this side. He's in his console an awful lot. But then Neo is under his desk, so...
Probably an issue with Neo, I would imagine.
Yeah, props.
Unless he's just trying to check out his PC.
Not entirely sure at this point.
Could be just a really nice case that he wants to get a proper view of. Wants it for his home setup. But yeah, hopefully it's fixed anyway. It seems like he is back in his seat and pretty much ready to go. The headset has been put back on. Hopefully, whatever issue it is will be resolved pretty quickly. But yeah, coming into this one, VP, they're off to a decent enough start. But as we said, they're still in a position where the economy is extremely fragile. They won't know as of yet that they are going to be up against the buy coming into this round. So it's definitely something that could potentially catch them off guard. But I feel like they will be aware that it's a possibility at least. They know themselves that they haven't been able to take these rounds very cleanly. And with Nuke, as I said, being a map where once you can get that economy rolling on the CT side, it's so hard to put a stop to. So Kinguin, they want to go ahead and put a stop to it before they can actually allow for them to build that money up.
difficult at the moment for VP as well. It's been, like you kind of alluded to, some very hard-fought rounds, which is something that's difficult to rely on. And a lot of those hard-fought rounds against weaker buys from Kinguin. I think this is the first round that we've seen them, pull out a number of AKs, not just one or two. So I think it's a little bit difficult. VP need to figure out kind of what is going wrong, especially with the outside hold. I feel like it's a little bit too easy for the T side to get in. There was that one round where they had the few deagles and whatnot, which I believe they ended up losing, but all the same, they just got outside control by walking there. Pasha doing a very poor job of holding it down initially. So it is certainly something I think that needs to be sorted out for VP, and quickly, because it's really not great to allow that kind of control to go away so easily.
Yeah, as I was saying, when you don't have that utility especially, it can be pretty difficult to try and actually hold down that position. And even when you do have it, you kind of need that upper. You need someone kind of moving around. A lot of the time you'll see the CT side sending maybe a player around and up through Secret so that they have another position to try and actually spot it from, because otherwise it's a little bit difficult, because you normally would maybe be playing back from the garage, maybe in towards the CT spawn or Hell, as we actually seen Pasha playing from earlier on. So it's a tough map to try and actually hold down that outside position especially, but if VP come into this prepared, as we said, of course, the last time these two teams played on Nuke, it was Kinguin with a very convincing 16-5 victory. And VP, of course, coming out on the losing end, they'll be the ones that would have gone ahead and looked back at that one, trying to find out what exactly went wrong. And maybe Kinguin, having got the victory, could be a little bit complacent.
That's true, to be fair. I feel like, we kind of talked a little bit here while it was going on the analyst desk about where the veto could go. Obviously, they have their permaban Inferno on the side of Kinguin and Overpass on the side of VP, but it was kind of something we mentioned. It was like they could have left Overpass open because Kinguin don't really play it very much anyway. It's not like they would first pick it and they'd possibly, ban it that second time around. And so with VP being like, right, well, Nuke's going to be open immediately, obviously they're going to pick it. I feel like VP have got a little bit of an idea in their heads of where they want to go with this map. Maybe they have worked on it. Maybe they have even, worked on it to anti-strat their opponents in this particular situation, because I feel it is such a good map for Kinguin. Around this level, I think maybe if they were against a bit of a better team, it might be another question. Mitch made a really good point of saying where, if they're against a better team or a team that's really good on Nuke, also it can be quite close, but it's a team where they're not 100% sure on Nuke, that Kinguin seem to be able to exploit those weaknesses really, really well. So if cracks start to show for VP, and they already are quite early on, then Kinguin can quite easily abuse those cracks, take the opportunities in hand, and just run away with, the CT side especially.
I feel like the issue is still persistent right now. As we can see, all the headsets have come off.
Yeah.
A little bit of a discussion happened. I don't think that's against the rules in this tournament. I think they've gone ahead and actually kept it so that they can actually talk during these technical pauses.
I think initially, until they figure out what's going on, no one talks.
Perhaps. But yeah, hopefully it can be resolved quickly. You can see, actually, I don't know if you can see, but on the server there is only 4 players in over on the VP side, rather. So
yeah,
definitely seems to be an issue. I would presume still Neo. Of course, we've seen him under his desk at the PC, so he must have some sort of technical issues on his computer side of things.
Never good, unfortunately. But these things kind of do happen, the offline setting.
Hopefully not something too serious.
No, I mean, there are spare PCs on hand if worst comes to worst. Does look like everybody's kind of getting back into things. I think maybe, like the Steam ID issue often crops up on LANs, where you kind of have to just reset your account, hope for the best. But like I say, it does look like everybody is getting everything set back up, getting their headsets and whatnot back on. Yes.
Yeah, we can see that indeed happening.
Yeah, indeed. All right, so sick one.
I would imagine that means we're getting back in within the next few seconds or so.
Hope so. It's kind of difficult, though. You have the technical pause early on in the game. There's a little bit less to talk about, you know. But I think it should certainly be an interesting one so far, like we've, you know, said a few times here. It has been difficult for VP so far. A hard-fought lead at the moment. And their first true test in a while, but not a great deal of utility for Kinguin. It does appear a very fast outside hit, though. They have kind of heard us a little bit. The exploitation is possible on this outside area because of how weak the hold is. Pasha was ready for Taz, but he's left on very, very low HP indeed, and the Molotov catches him out in no man's land. Reach trying to find the head of Mihu, but not quite able to do so. So into a 4 versus 3, but could certainly swing back into contention with Reach being so very low.
Yeah, it was actually Neo there who got some good damage in to try and assist Mihu. Mihu this time around then from Hell is at least able to find 1 kill, but the problem is being traded immediately does actually manage to keep that advantage in favor of Team Kinguin for the moment, as well as having quite a lot of control on the map. As we said, of course, they have full control of outside. That means that they do have the option to make their way down through Secret if they want to. And also still having some control in towards lobby. They could try and approach that A-bomb site, but Rallen is going to be dropped. Up close against that MP9, he's not really going to be too heavily favored in the battle. Morel's also going to be able to take down Mouse, and suddenly Reitz with 1 health and that Scout is left to try and clutch it out. And although he does connect that first shot, sadly, Morel's not going to be falling from it. It's VP to go ahead and take themselves a 4-1 lead. Again, it is a very close round where lots of damage is done, but this time with no bomb plant coming in for Kinguin, they don't really have any other option other than to maybe pick up some pistols, a bit of body armor so that they can keep the economy modest for VP. But it seems like we have another technical issue. I don't think it's the same player gone off the server. We presumed it was Neo last time, but yeah. I'm pretty sure he's still on the server right now.
I don't know, to be fair. It seemed as soon as what was like Pasha and I think Snatchy fell. There's just kind of an immediate call to pause. So it seems whatever the issue was is still kind of persisting a little bit. I think there is only 4 players on that VP side, as you can kind of see on the scoreboard there. So someone is having some issues, maybe some kind of server issues that's local to their PC. Looks like Snatchy is immediately, you know, while everybody else is sort of talking. Neo didn't seem to have any problems in that round. Snatchy's, you know, got his stuff off and is a bit angry. Got a bit of an admin helping him out. So this seems possibly, obviously this is all conjecture from you and I, but I think possibly it is a bit of a different situation this time around. Gives Kinguin a bit more time to talk things over, though, because, again, they lose the round, but it's very, very close. And I think now it is starting to leave the realms of, oh, we're keeping the economy modest, we're continually doing damage. It's more like we're not able to finish these rounds out. Because you have to think in that round, I think, at one point it was a 5-on-3, and VP managed to come back from that.
Yeah, there was the opening kill, of course, found by, I believe it was Taz, and then that was pretty quickly traded by Pasha, but I think Rallen returned that one as well, so I think it was actually a 4-on-3 at one point. So sadly, they weren't able to actually go ahead and capitalize on it and turn it into a round win. It was good work by the MP9 specifically, actually, that did manage to kind of just mow them down. And that's the thing about Nuke. There's so many different positions you can play. There's close range, there's long range, so you can kind of swap things up depending on what weaponry you actually do have available. But yeah, decently at the start things off for VP, and as I said, I'd imagine that once this pause is actually removed, that we probably will see Kinguin go ahead and take 1 eco. They can go for a little bit of a quasi, but at least they can get something into it so that they can try and do some damage, but pretty soon they do need to start picking up some rounds.
Bomb plant would be nice, as always.
For sure.
I think they figured recently and in that last round particularly, again, the outside hold is really not that great from VP at the moment. Whether it is the little things like the utility or the lack of an AWP, or whether it is the fact that they are just not prepared for a setup out there. Seems we've got a bit of a box from one of the Starladder admins. Must have something in it that is somewhat useful. You don't really know, though, to be fair, because I feel like they should be allowed to talk when it's a little bit of an extended one. It's a bit harsh to keep them silent, but are they allowed to talk about tactics, or is Pasha just talking about, like, what he had for breakfast?
I feel like they could just be talking about the issue in all honesty.
Yeah, maybe. But I feel like the rules are kind of, if you're talking tactics, you get a bit told off.
I'm wondering what's in that box now. Do you think
Yeah,
it would be a big box?
Haha, nice.
We've seen those in the ads.
Yeah. Runtime.gg, of course.
I think we actually had them in our hotel rooms, wasn't it?
Yeah, in the little goodie bag things. They're kind of cool. I had like the flapjack type thing, which is essentially a protein bar. So obviously there's a lot less sugar in it, but it was pretty nice. It was pretty nice, to be fair. And there's a good gym here at the hotel. I went yesterday.
I wouldn't know about that.
Yeah, you should know about that. All right, keep fit. I mean, I'm one to talk, but I went and
I had an apple yesterday.
that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
It was all I had till about 9 p.m.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah. I'm not much of a morning eater, so I woke up, we were getting ready to cast, and I was like, ooh, there's apples.
Fair.
Grab an apple. But yeah, I feel like...
Mouse looks so bored.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I feel like that kind of sums up everyone right now waiting for this issue to be resolved. The headset's coming off a little bit again so they can go ahead and have a little chat.
Who's the Kinguin coach?
Lord, I think.
Is it Lord? Yeah, I thought so. I didn't want to say
Lord for
like
Kinguin,
straight up.
Kuban for VP.
Yeah.
So just legends pretty much everywhere on the stage right now.
I know, right? Just faces that you recognize.
Yeah.
The funniest thing this morning, so one of the shout out, I suppose, to David, who's kind of like one of the organisers of the event, but we were sat having breakfast and some of the VP boys came down and Pasha just sort of like started walking over to where we were, like, past us to get food. David just stood up and he was like, shaking my head. And it's like a very vigorous shake from Pasha. It was brilliant. And he was just like a little bit flustered. That's just how it is. You follow CS, you follow even 1.6. Like we've said, these guys are absolute legends. Taz for sure, like always for me, will have a bit of a place in my heart. Cologne 2015 when it was like that semi-final against Fnatic and all the crowd, there was a lot of VP fans and they were like kind of booing Fnatic when they'd won. And Olaf was giving an interview and Taz comes along and he's like, give them the respect. These guys are great players. It was a great series. Just let them have the interview. And that will always, it's the most humbling thing. Because sure, he is such a confident guy. And alongside Pasha, he's always been that like massive character within the classic VP lineup. But to just be able to come along and do that and also be a very humbling figure is just a great thing for those young players. Again, he talked about it himself. When they were the top team, they were the inspirations for some of the players that they're probably now playing alongside. And things like that are going to draw people in and make sure they keep watching, keep humble themselves.
I'm wondering if the production has any exact information for us about what's going on, and maybe if we have a bit of an ETA.
Maybe.
Hopefully we can find out. Some technical issues, sadly, not always something that can be controlled. These sort of things do happen.
It's always sort of the first game of the day thing as well, A little bit of a shame. You get it out of the way and then the day continues to be clean, but turn the PC on and suddenly there's some kind of an update somewhere and it messes everything up. Especially in CS, because, it's like custom servers, custom configs, etc., etc.
A lot of nice keyboards.
We're really running dry now, dude. We're talking about keyboards.
Oh, a little bit. I just like the keyboards. There's lots of pink stuff we've seen
over
the last couple of days,
cool,
which has been surprising.
Yeah.
I want a pink mouse and keyboard now.
Flashy.
I've got like the standard black ones at home.
I don't know about that mouse. It was very shiny. And
Very shiny.
if you're a hardcore gamer, your hands get a bit sweaty or whatever. It's like you're gonna be slipping. I couldn't do it.
I guess it depends.
My
Objects
hands
can
don't
be
really
shiny and also not be slippery at the same time.
True. That's true.
Depends all on the
I
material.
like my matte black mice.
Yeah. Now my EC2A is pretty shiny.
Yeah,
Can
they
get a little bit
generally
annoying.
are, aren't they? The Zowie mice.
Yeah. I like the Zowie mice. I have too many mice. I can just never decide which one I want to use.
Fair enough. I only have the one.
I see a new one online. I'm like, ooh, I'd like to try that. Looks like a good shape. One of the ones I've been wanting to try is the new Logitech mouse.
Yeah, the wireless one, the 703 or whatever it is. Yeah. Looks kind of cool. Saw Baldolf tweeted out about it. Cause
I just hate wires. They always get in the way.
yeah, it's true, innit? And like, for me, So I'm at uni, and it's like moving desks every year. You know, moving to like a new house. It's like the space always changes, so you have to figure out. Like for the bungee, it's a bit of a different length or whatever, and then it takes a little time to get used to. And then you never truly get used to it. So it's difficult. It's difficult.
So yeah, we still don't know what's going on, Scriv. So we can't even really talk about the issue. But I guess one thing we could discuss is that after this pause, I suppose both teams will maybe be losing a little bit of momentum. But then again, they weren't really building up much. How close the rounds were, VP barely been able to kind of inch out those rounds, been able to, I think, surviving with 2 players in pretty much all of them, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Kinguin, as I said, they should come into this next round with an eco. I wouldn't imagine that they'll buy. If they do, I'd be a little bit surprised. But I see the inners being put back on here, Scriv. This is a good sign.
And the headsets. All right, let's get
Coach just sat back down. It looks like we're just about ready to go.
In the UK, touch some wood. I think the Americans say knock on wood. I don't know if there's
we say touch wood in Ireland as well.
Fair
to
enough.
not
then.
jinx something.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Just a superstitious thing.
Yeah, indeed. So we're gonna do that. Everybody touch some wood at home, just to make sure.
That could be.
Yeah, I know. That's often the joke if there's actually no wood around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The mind goes to different places, but
so do the hands apparently.
Yeah, I guess. I always touch my. If you're blonde, right? And I kind of a little bit. If you touch your head, because it kind of looks like wood.
What?
I guess. Yeah, it's like a thing. I don't know.
I've never looked at your hair and goes and gone, wow, that looks like wood.
It's kind of the same color though, is what I'm getting at. Not like material.
I guess it depends on the wood. There's a lot of different
That's
colored
very
wood.
true, actually. You could say, like, especially if you paint the wood, it's like any color.
But then you could paint your hair any color, or more so dye it. You could paint it as well, but it probably wouldn't come out too well.
That's a good idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
A little bit toxic, maybe.
Yeah, exactly, like, very.
Seeping through your skull.
Yeah, not good. Not good.
Be going crazy. But yeah, as we said, all the headsets are back on. I'd imagine that means we are pretty much ready to go at this point. I presume the issues are resolved. But it seems like we're still waiting for a moment before we'll actually be able to get that pause removed and get back into things. I seen Insomnia, you just asked me to sing a song, and I just want to say I cannot sing for my life.
I mean, I kind of can after like a few pints, but not on the stream.
Oh, okay.
It's not happening. Maybe tonight, though, tune in to my IRL stream.
Maybe if we can, yeah, maybe
IRL's
if we can.
not a thing anymore on Twitch, is it? It's just chatting.
We'll do it on Twitter, all right? We'll do a Twitter stream.
Do a bit of.
We get drunk later. We find somewhere to do karaoke, and the two of us will find something to sing as a duet.
I've heard there are some places, but I think it's Joe, who's kind of like a bit of a local here and that kind of thing, like moved from the UK. He said there's a Russian karaoke bar that's a bit scary, but like kind of good. So maybe, or just get drunk and sing. You know what I mean? Like just go for it. There was a bar like nearby. They had some classic 80s bangers on. I was with like Hawker and the boys. We were really enjoying it.
Okay. Well, that was last night, was it?
No, that was Wednesday night.
Oh, okay, yeah, before I arrived.
Yeah.
So I had some flight issues, of course. Got held up in Munich for a night.
Of course. Was it Wednesday or was it Tuesday? I can't remember. So whenever Sadakis got here, because he had some like nachos, and he was like, "This is way too many. Does anyone want some?" And we were all like, "No, we just ate." And he was like, "Well, I'm gonna have to eat them all then."
That's not really how it works, because you can kind of just leave some.
Well, yeah, I think that he did end up leaving some, but in his mind he was like, "I don't want to waste my
I get you.
My money.
You want to make sure you eat them.
Yeah.
I think everyone's on the server.
Yeah, I saw. I think what they're doing right now is match medic and making sure everything's cool, same round, same money.
Yeah.
Because I saw a second ago in the kill feed, like everyone got killed.
Okay, yeah, that would definitely be match medic then.
Yeah. So just waiting on that. We're getting there. We're almost there. Very much running out of things to say. So let's hope there's not another technical
I ran out
pause.
about 10 minutes
otherwise,
ago.
we probably are going to have to sing if there's another technical pause.
I wouldn't even know what to sing, in all honesty.
It would have to be the Backstreet's Back. You know what I mean?
All right.
Exactly. That's the one.
Nah,
I'd
need something a lot deeper to
from
sing.
that one TV show with Jake Peralta. You seen it? It's like the opening. It's like, the lineup where, normally someone's behind the screen and it's like Person number 1, step forward, say this line. There's a famous one from, Kaiser Soze, that film, which is a bit edgy because it's got someone in that's not a great guy. If you've seen the film, you know who I mean. But like, you know, it's like a lineup where someone steps forward, they say a line, and basically they make them sing the beginning of like Backstreet's Back, and it's absolutely hilarious. I'll show you later. It's so funny.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check it out.
It's just like one by one they do a line, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, I just seen there on Rollins' monitor, he popped the scoreboard up for about half a second, and there is 10 players on the server. So that means the issues are fixed, at least, as you said, Match Medic probably being the only thing now that they're working to try and get that all fixed up so that we're ready to resume from the point we were at before the pause.
I think another saying that we have in the UK is they are currently taking the Michael. You had taking the Mick?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
There's obviously another version that a lot of people probably know, but I'm not sure it's stream friendly. It kind of
Does it start with a P?
Yeah, I don't think it's a terrible word, but I'd rather not annoy the
just be careful,
the TOs. Yeah.
We can see the matches, of course, still paused. I can just about make that out on the screen, so it hasn't been removed quite yet. I feel like Pash is staring into my soul. I was looking at my monitor.
He's a hero. I think we should just have that, like, until the technical pause finishes, just Pasha's face cam. You know? Just have that instead of the game, it'd probably be quite funny. Like, see his reaction to all the plays.
Some players tend to have pretty interesting reactions. We get some nice pictures from them.
Yeah, true. Apparently, they were taking some pictures yesterday. Apparently, I was pulling some funny faces.
We'll have to get those so we can post them somewhere.
I'll get them, and then I can decide which ones are open to the public, you know what I mean?
Oh.
Because you have to be careful with that kind of thing. You get memed to high hell.
That's not bad, though. That's publicity. The saying goes, any publicity is good publicity. Like, if your face becomes a meme, you get your face out there a little bit more, you know?
I mean, I guess so. I think it's a... I think it's a Groucho Marx quote. It's like, doesn't matter what they're saying, just as long as they're talking about it.
Oh no, we've lost the earphones, the headphones and the in-ears again. Okay, some of them are going back in. You can see Kinguin seem to still have theirs in, but a lot of the...
Well, Taz just took his out.
Yeah, it was Taz actually who had it off. So yeah, there's some players that don't have them, so hopefully no more issues. It'd be a bit unfortunate if the issue had just been resolved. And
yeah, I think we jinxed it, didn't we, with the whole touch wood thing?
We may
ironically.
have.
See, they're cool because they can all have banter with each other. We're just sort of sat here trying to watch and talk. And like...
There's not really a lot to talk about either.
I know, that's the thing. Have this at... Well, it's kind of... You have it early on in the game, there's not been too much action. If you have it later on in the game, there's more to talk about, but it's kind of like the suspense of a, I don't know, 13-11 scoreline. You know, it could go either way type thing. You really don't want a pause then either. So you just don't want technical pauses at all, ideally. But it does, like we say, it does kind of happen from time to time. It's just that first game of the day, LAN saying, you know, something somewhere, someone will have kicked a PC leaving yesterday evening. And it's just messed it all up.
Headphones are back on.
You know, statue from the side really looks like Snacks.
Like a mini Snacks.
Yeah, from that side on.
We can call him Snacksy.
God.
We shouldn't do that. That'd be confusing.
Yeah. It's just a big F in chat for Snacks, you know what I mean? Bless the lad.
Oh, yeah, he was removed from Sports as well, so I'm
kind
of curious about where he'll be
going. It's kind of like, you know, he was in VP, and it's sort of, is like, the team was the problem. Look, guys, I'm going to go join Mouse Sports, pretty decent side, you know, of like very stereotypically mixed players, not really being a German-speaking, I suppose, before team for a while. And he goes and joins. It's a bit of a yikes, and it's like maybe the team wasn't the problem. Sorry, lads.
I think it's been a good 3 years since Mouse spoke German.
Yeah, I know, right?
Back when
mate.
Back when Nico was on the bench.
Yeah,
That's
what the hell is going on?
Oh,
what is?
This is a weird view. We're getting it directly from the eyes.
Oh my goodness.
This
this
is how it should
intentional?
technically
Okay.
look.
Thank God
If
it
we were
was
being realistic, that's how it should look.
intentional. I was like, I thought it was some kind of a bug. I was a bit worried then for a second, but fair enough. All right, boys, back into the action. Kinguin have bought up again. It's a very CIS kind of force buy, you know, where you get that AK out. They're going to try and rush down in towards the vents. Neo is making quick work. He drops the bomb. He's aware of the fact that one has made it down, but he's now the only one remaining and has very little knowledge or control. I think the smoke on the vents kind of failed a little bit, left it open for Neo to just easily clean things up. And a bit of an anticlimactic return as Kinguin just get demolished.
Rallen completely invested in that previous round, which is surprising. That limits his buy now coming into this one. If he wants to get an AK, it'd just be with body armor, so I'd suppose he probably will go down to the Galil, maybe even an SMG, so he can also get some utility. But it's just strange, maybe a bit of miscommunication.
Yeah, I was just about to say maybe, or like I say, we do sometimes see these kind of force buys creep in where it's like, oh, I can get an AK, guys, so I'm going to just do it. And everyone's like, yeah, cool, because you never know, he might pick up a 2K or a 3K to help the rest of the team with the pistols, with a bit of armor that they've got. But like I say, I think the plan just kind of failed a little bit. The execution towards the vents was terrible, to be frank.
Yeah, not having the head armor, I guess, isn't a big deal, as he's up against 3 AKs and op and only the 1 M4, but being downgraded to the Galil is never ideal. You want that best rifle possible. As we said, of course, Kinguin, they've done a pretty good job at keeping the economy fairly low over on the VP side. That previous round finally gave them a chance to try and actually build up some economy, able to do so pretty convincingly. And that means coming into this one now, Kinguin, they really need to start picking up some rounds so that they can try and build this towards a respectable half on the T side.
The outside execute this time coming in a little bit later. It's the first time that we've seen them properly go for this, but I feel it's sort of a double fake. I think they're going for by just walking down slowly, trying to sell the fact that maybe they aren't actually going towards B, but the split seems to be in action, and VP meanwhile allowing ramp especially to remain open. A little bit of a passive hold from them. Neo dry peek out, gets taken down. Rallen as well to find Snatchy on the rotation, and Morals rather. It's all going to be down to Pasha and Mihu, while the rest of the boys on that T side have already made it down pretty quickly. I'm not so sure about that one from VP. You know, Pasha was holding outside, gets pushed off the angle, a few smokes, and all of a sudden, the round is just kind of run out of control. CT side allowing B site to remain open, and it's right for the taking for Kinguin. A little bit too easy for them, in all honesty.
Yeah, that's perfect for them, coming into this one, taking this round with likely 5 players alive as long as they don't try and hunt it down. Of course, Pasha at that point being forced into the save with not having any money in the bank. Mihu just going to go ahead and save his M4 over as well. VP will have a really solid buy into this next round, but good work by Kinguin. They build themselves up a bit of money in the bank. They're going to have to, of course, kind of reinvest into this one to at least get out some utility, etc. But they should at least have some form of money left over. But here we go. Another buy comes in. Kinguin going to be looking to now try and chain some rounds together, put a stop to that momentum that VP had been building up. And on the other hand, of course, VP going to be looking to try and come in and find that reset, because, of course, Kinguin no longer going to have that loss bonus going in their favor. And this is a round that they do very much need to pick up.
A little bit of a quicker outside execute this time around. Neo is going to be the sole proprietor holding this outside area. That's very, very quick in from the T side. Rallen is at least there to trade it. Still not so sure on that one, but it seems to be working out so far. Pasha at the back vent holding with the AWP, completely caught off. Snatchy up and down the ladder, will take down Mouse, and I think has dropped that bomb down into the vents with him. So this certainly makes things interesting.
He does now, for sure. I'm aware that bomb is down here, but it's still going to be difficult. As long as you see Kinguin kind of stick together and make sure they can trade off of this, it shouldn't be the biggest of deals. But if they start dropping down that ladder one by one, that's when it could become a real issue, of course. Let's see, because Snatchy definitely in with a better chance than he had a couple of moments ago. Having to be a bit more cautious at a flank, though, of course. And as we can see for now, Kinguin, they seem to be mostly just sticking together. They want to try and push in.
It's a difficult one, though, right? It's similar to Pop Dog. If you don't go down properly, he actually has a chance. Ooh. Oh, okay. Unless you got the quick moves, boy.
Smooth criminal.
Yeah, the nice little Molotov to push him down, and then using that to their advantage to just quickly get that smoke to to Bloom, and then eventually dealing with him as he tries to push back up.
Uh-oh, I hope this is a tactical.
I mean, at this point, maybe Kinguin have won 2 in a row. It's a bit of an eco kind of situation, maybe a quasi-buy. Okay, they are actually going to go for a full force here, which it does work. I didn't notice how much money Mihu had to drop that AWP across, but 2 SMGs in play, it's not really the best. It is, thank the gods, just a tactical pause at this point. But kind of a needed one. I appreciate this from VP as well. They had a relatively solid lead, 5-1, and 2 rounds strung together by Kinguin does make things a little bit more difficult. If they lose this round here as well, it's going to be a pretty hefty blow to their economy. So it does kind of make sense to keep things under wraps, take one of those pauses early on.
Yeah. Good work by Taz in that round. He was able to come in and find himself a nice little 3K, as you've seen in that replay. But here we go. The pause being removed, and VP, they had a bit of time to discuss what they wanted to do. They've gone for the full force buy into this one, and they're going to be looking to try and put a stop to Kinguin before they can really begin to get that momentum rolling in their favor. It looks like it is going to be a bit of a slower paced round this time from Kinguin. They haven't gone for that immediate outside control, instead just going to be holding a bit more of a default in towards lobby, seeing if they can find any opening picks, and hoping, I guess, that VP are going to be trying to get aggressive to give them those openings. They do, of course, know that VP, if they've gone for the buy, there will be at least some weaknesses in that purchase, because they do have some SMGs in play, also a lack of utility, only having 2 smokes and 2 flashes with still 1 minute and 15 seconds left on that clock.
A little bit of utility expended by Manice to get some control over towards A. Taz going to find Pasha. Had been doing great work in these past few rounds to open things up for his team, you know, picking up a couple multi-frag rounds here and there. That, of course, is going to be that AWP dropped, which arguably was the linchpin of this round for VP.
Yeah, we were definitely looking towards Pasha with that up to try and put in the main fight, especially towards outside, to try and stop them from being able to advance and get this control. And as we can see now, of course, Kinguin, they've got themselves down through Secret. They have the opportunity to try and push their way on towards B, and they've left Maniz up in door. With that door gone as well, he's just in a perfect position to try and cut off those rotates. If anyone tries to make their way down Vent, they could definitely be in for a little bit of trouble, and you can see that's exactly going to be the case. Neo going to be dropped by Maniz. Kinguin now advancing onto that B bomb site. The smoke being put down gives the cover for Reitz to go ahead and plant the bomb. And it's a 5-on-3 as the remaining players for VP may just want to consider going for this save already. They do find Maniz, so that's actually a nice little upgrade to an AK from Morels if he wants it.
I think they are going to hunt this, though. They've got a little bit of money available to them. So Snatchy falls. Mihu kind of baiting him out pretty solidly to stay alive, get his hands onto an AK, but going to have to move to save this. VP looking a little bit shaky in the past few rounds. It does seem as though the way that the rounds are going, playing exactly into Kinguin's hands at the moment. Especially this one here, you know, it was very easily read. Manice does a great job on that lurk. Sure, he only picks up 1 kill, but it's the nature of his position and the fact that he's just a thorn in the side of VP allows the bomb to easily go down. Some decent post plants, you know, and they have nothing to work with, really. Virtus Pro have to just let the round slip away, essentially. And now their lead solidly under contention. It is going to be those 2 AKs available, of course, but everybody else just on the P250s and nade for Neo. Morels and Mihu, though, this is the type of round where if you play a little bit more loose and fly around corners or just get in the face of your opponents, you can catch them off guard going for executes or just in general catch them off guard. It is definitely possible. First one going to get spotted out. Mihu and Rallen trying to fight each other. Unfortunately, Rallen is not able to take down Mihu, who finds his teammate. Morels as well making quick work with the AK of his own. This is going to fall.
This is getting dangerous right now. Just so much damage is being done. Only the 1 kill so far actually being returned by Rallen, and it looks like maybe VP could make this one work, but Taz, he's coming in to try and clean things up. A quick headshot to be found. He knows that Neo is playing up close as well, who's pretty much at this point pinned in towards that blue box. But the problem is, Taz is now all alone. He's lost his teammate. Has to try and clutch this one out. He's under a bit of pressure, known at least the position of Pasha. But the problem is, of course, that bomb is dropped under his vision right now. It's towards outside. He has to be cautious because he doesn't quite know where Mihu is currently located towards. And of course, Mihu now going to be creeping in through hell, looking to maybe try and catch Taz off guard, but he could be the one that falls instead. Only a single bullet going to be needed to finish him off, of course, but the timing, it's perfect for Mihu. He has a free kill, gets himself the headshot, and VP, they're able to make it work. They came into that round with just the 2 rifles, pistols onto the other players, and of course they do end up coming out with the victory for themselves. I think Kinguin do have enough money to quite easily repurchase in, but it's just a bit awkward. That's a round they probably should have had, and it is all about just grinding out those rounds here on the T side, so every single round matters quite heavily.
The 2 AKs, Morels and Mihu, the 2 Ms of Virtus Pro, putting in the work in that previous round, but everybody else reacting well around it. Like I say, those looser rounds sometimes can just overwhelm, catch off your opponents from time to time. Kinguin, though, still going to have the money to buy up. Manise on the AWP, not going to be answered back by the CT side. So definitely an opportunity for them to get a bit of a reset going here. And again, they're already on 4 rounds. So there's still a good chance that they can lift it up to that 5 or 6 that they would be quite happy with.
I think it's more 6 that you do need to be at least happy. If you can bring it above that, then you're putting yourself in a pretty good position. But let's see. For now, no kills haven't come in quite yet. There was some damage found early on towards Kinguin with those nades that were thrown in towards lobby. But there is still just around the minute remaining now on the clock. It means, of course, Kinguin going to have to come to a decision pretty soon about what they want to do. And it looks like as the smokes are being thrown towards outside, they are looking to maybe try and get some control. It is, of course, only one player with Rallen, I guess, trying to show a bit of presence and pull some rotations away. And it looks like Mihu now over towards ramp is going to be the one that's tested. The flashes are coming in. He hears those footsteps, and he's going to be aware that the push is coming in this direction. Will he be able to hold it down is the question. They're not actually going to be checking the back box. Able to find themselves the triple kill and holds it down easily. It's all on Rallen. He was left lurking on the other side of the map. And with the bomb miles away, there's not really much that he can do at this point.
The one thing he does have is the fact that they don't know where he is, but with only 20 seconds thereabouts remaining, I think the fact is the round is all but over at this point. It's a question of whether he survives or takes anyone down with him. Finds Snatchy with a bit of an off angle. And I think looking at the position of the VP players and the money that they have, they're just going to allow him to survive. Of course, he'll still be able to buy up the utility, but it's again, another weird financial situation for Kinguin where they can't really buy up, but they could buy around this AK. Rallen especially, to be fair to him, as we see the scoreboard having a relatively good game. So that could certainly be an option. And I think they have at least gone for the quasi-buy here. So workable. This is a round, though, that if VP can cleanly get, you know, they start to build up a bit of cash and force Kinguin down to another eco situation. They get themselves a nice cushion of rounds going into the latter stage of the first half. And that is always good. Nice little bit of Molotovs outside to deny the initial push in towards Secret, but they're still going to go for it. The fact of the matter is those smokes almost dissipating. If they'd have waited any longer, it would have been a bit problematic. So they have to make a lot of noise, basically, to get down here. It is going to be quite a telegraphed B hit. Mihu already here, ready and waiting on the edge of ramp, in towards control, getting very aggressive indeed, but does manage to drop the bomb at the very least and escape back. Meanwhile, Pasha is the one that falls. Mihu trying to do what he can, but he will go down to Taz. It's a man advantage for the T side. That AK still in play, and M4 recovered for Taz now as well. Things looking a little bit dicey for VP on this retake.
Oh, Taz trying to push into the smoke. He may actually be able to catch these players off guard. You can see neither looking towards this side. The smoke, of course, not really actually a wall, something that Taz can maybe try and pounce from. Rallen able to find one, should be the trade from Taz. And Mao's been able to find one elsewhere, means it is actually going to be Kinguin pulling off pretty much a full eco. They had the 1 AK for Rallen, some pistols upgraded elsewhere. But a bit of a misplay, I think, they're down on that B-bomb site. Pasha taking a very wide angle, trying to fight in towards that window position. And of course, he knew that there was players elsewhere as well. So it was just a very awkward fight. There's too many angles for him to try and deal with. And of course, just got shut down. And Mihu wasn't able to make anything else work from it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the same from Mihu. He picks up that first kill, drops back. It looked like a good play. They should just wait a little bit there for some more rotations to come in from different areas so that they can have that, you know, triple pronged or whatever it may be retake scenario. But they just get those two players, Pasha and Mihu, just get a little bit too greedy to try and pick up the frags. Seeing the pistols, you know, thinking, oh, I should be able to kill these guys easily, just doesn't work out that way. AWP in for Pasha, though. And to be fair, he's not spent all of his money in order to get it, so can still buy up into the next rounds. make this one work, possibly. Now they're going to know that that AWP is in play as he drops Reets. But still, this is the type of round, again, looser play style. VP have converted them in the past. And with an AWP in play, it is definitely possible. That's a quick little headshot from Mouse. So he looks away at the wrong time, but manages to stay alive as Pasha misses the shot, in fact, and opts to drop back instead of losing that AK. That AWP has to be very, very careful, though. Rylan walks straight past him. The flash, he doesn't hear him. He misses the shot, though. Pasha going to fall. That is such a blunder. Meanwhile, Mihu has picked up Manish, but with these few P250s, I don't really see it happening for VP. Pasha with a couple of opportunities there, you know, players that didn't know he was around or next to, or, you know, he got a nice little bit of timing, and he just completely messes it up.
The first one, at least, was a bit unfortunate because Morel jumped around the corner just as Pasha took the shot, but that second one, sure, he was blinded up, but I feel like the shot definitely should have been connected once he actually spotted him out his position.
Yeah, exactly. It was a bit too much of a reaction shot rather than a thought-out one.
It didn't take his time on it. Maybe he was a little bit scared. Perhaps wasn't even sure if he had actually been spotted himself. So it is going to be Kinguin being able to chain themselves a couple of rounds together here, bringing it up to 6. As I said, that's a position that they can be happy with already. And of course, if they can get a couple of rounds out of this one, if they can bring it up to 7, maybe even 8, and get themselves the lead at halftime, they'll be looking great heading into the CT side. But it is just a round there that it was looking okay to start things off for VP. Of course, they didn't have too much invested into it. This is where they're able to get the actual buyout, and they'll be looking out to try and bring it up to that 9-round mark. I'm hoping that we do see Snatchy back on the op, though, and yeah, we do indeed.
Yeah, I think after that one, not only from a team standpoint, from a in-game leader standpoint, I think Pasha himself will probably be feeling, yeah, this is just not working out for me at the moment. Let Snatchy get on it and switch things up. Also, it could be a question of economy, but they have been dropping it across to him a couple of times. Ooh, Snatchy going to get naded down to just under 70 HP, however. So, not the best of starts. And no one seems to be really going towards ramp to try and contest him.
Yeah, Rollin been able to actually just creep up on outside. Gonna throw down that smoke, so it looks like they're just doing the standard wall of smokes and hadn't actually shown any presence. And he's gonna go ahead and advance forward. Pushed up close to Secret, yet to actually commit down into it. So it'll be interesting to see what they do eventually decide on trying to actually do here. Gonna push forward, but I think the smokes are about to begin to dissipate in just a couple of seconds, so they do need to be cautious. Pasha with a FAMAS, though, from Heaven. That's not really the greatest of weapons to actually try and hold this position from. Gets a bit of damage at least in onto Taz, but at this point is pretty much just going to be forced to actually give up this control towards Kinguin.
Yeah, but there's so much damage done across the board, really. Snatchy, oh, he looks away at the wrong time. Does need to be a little bit careful. I don't think they're going straight through the door. They're all trying to move up. Takes down Manice, in fact, and from Heaven, Morels is ready. Pasha here in a little bit of a bait setup as well. Going to get walked straight past, but taken down by Mouse due to that low HP. Neo, meanwhile, trying to recover things back. Doesn't expect Taz to be there, though. It's the timing working out for Kinguin. As they gain control of the A site, Mihu drops Taz. Rarlan trades him immediately into the 1 versus 1. Snatchy coming in from behind. 10 seconds remaining. I don't think Rarlan's going to expect this at all, but makes noise. Snatchy, no, a little bit too early. Jumps the gun and gets taken down. Rarlan will find it. And Kinguin get another round on the board. A little bit of a blunder in that 1v1. Like I say, I don't think Rarlan was aware of the fact that Snatchy had repositioned all the way back around because he was in hell beforehand. It's a 7th round for Kinguin, and this is in the territory of a very good T-half if they're able to pick up another round off the back of it.
Even 7 is a very good T-half on Nuke. It's something that they are going to be extremely confident heading into the CT side with, but of course with the buy now being so weak for VP, the opportunity here for them to find an 8 is pretty high. We've seen them fall to the pistols in the past, so I'm not going to say it's 100%, but they are looking favourite to try and actually take themselves a lead heading into that CT side, and already going to get themselves that early control towards Secret, but a well-placed smoke from VP actually does kind of make them doubt themselves. They don't want to stay up too close. Trying to push into that smoke, especially up against the SMGs and the pistols, would have been trouble. So they are going to go ahead and try and reapproach. Still have the outside control. There's 1 minute and 20 seconds on the clock, so they aren't really in that much of a rush. They can take their time and try and just feel this out. Get themselves a little bit more control. Try and find where exactly that defense is located over on the VP side. And it looks like they might be trying to actually just make their way up through Heaven now as well. Can maybe approach in through Hell, try and get a little bit of a split going onto this A bomb site. And up against the pistols and the SMGs, I think this is probably the ideal strat for them to go to. Oh, making a bit of noise though. I think Morel should have been able to hear that.
Possibly a mistake coming in from them, to be fair, but still, are they going to expect this amount of players coming in from heaven? I don't think so. Neo does manage to drop one. The rotation's coming in, though, but quickly shut down by Kinguin into a 4-on-2 in this final round. Pasha in behind, but really apprehensive again. So many players in a heaven is a little bit unorthodox. He's the only one remaining now. Nice little angle to take down Rallen, but he's got to find 3 more. And they're going to know exactly where he is. Smoke going to go down, and he peeks straight into 2 players. Taz to drop his former teammate. Pulls it to an 8-7 half. Kinguin will be very, very happy with that one, especially after a relatively strong start from Virtus Pro, but just never truly able to get that economy rolling. And only Mihu really, you know, performing well. Everybody else a little bit mediocre.
Yeah, I feel like the scoreboard right now is kind of what you would expect. You normally would put Mihu up to towards the top of the scoreboard for VP. You'd want Snatchy up there with him as well, which is definitely not happening at the moment. So I feel like if VP do want a chance here on Nuke, he's definitely going to need to step it up over on that T side. And it can be quite difficult to actually get the op rolling on the T side. Nuke is a map quite like Inferno, where sure you have the chances early on to try and pick up those opening frags, but when it comes down to the point where you have to push into the bomb sites, it just can be really difficult with how close range it is. But yeah, a little bit of a pause coming in. Surprisingly, it's Kinguin calling for that one. They want to ensure that they can pick up the second pistol round. If they do, it puts them really in a great position to try and just run away with the lead here on the CT side. So I'm not really too surprised with it. As you said, it's kind of more of a proactive pause rather than a reactive one.
Yeah, very true. It seems to be, you know, kind of talked about this yesterday. But it does seem to be creeping into the meta now where teams take pauses while they're ahead to remain in the lead. Or, you know, when it's close, not just when they find themselves losing 5 or 6 rounds in a row and things aren't going so well. Either way, once again, it seems to be a bit of a repeat from the first half, a very quick hit on towards that A site. A little bit more contention this time around from the CT side, although Reitz gets instantly gooshed down to 5 HP as soon as he shows himself. Does manage to take down Snatchy, though, regardless. Mao's, meanwhile, is blocked off from a smoke. Going to get loud, but it's a nice little crossfire setup. He does manage to actually drop Morels. Pasha's let this go into a 1 versus 1. Can't quite find the shots. They both have to reload. Backing away from the bomb, though, might just buy enough time to reposition. Mao's going to move in towards that bomb. Flash goes in to blind out Pasha. He walks in so very blind, but the head has not been found. Mao's eventually gets it, but there's no time. Pasha recognizes that he had to vie for time, and although the aim might not have been there, the game sense certainly was, and it will be that pistol going the way of Virtus Pro, but again, only just.
Yeah, that was definitely an interesting pistol around there. That final 1v1 taking a little while, but eventually it came to the conclusion of it being VP, of course, who do go ahead and pick up that pistol round, which was pretty important for them to do. Of course, coming into that T side with already a disadvantage, need to pick up that pistol round pretty much. They do so and equalize the scoreline. Kinguin happy enough to actually just go for the eco. They spend a little bit of the excess cash and actually pick up 3 nades, which could be a little bit dangerous. Maybe it could catch VP off guard if they place those towards a position where they may be stacked up, and it looks like they are thrown towards outside. Doesn't do all that much damage, but they are able to find 1 kill towards the door. It is Mihu who falls and actually does drop an AK as well, I believe, in the process. It wasn't actually able to be recovered, sadly.
Yeah, they do a good job on the VP side of just moving it away from the door all the way back in towards T-spawn, I think, at this point. So just going to be on to Maus, the only one to have picked up a kill for his side. That Kevlar CZ, after getting a few kills in the pistol, certainly going to be helpful. Looks away at the wrong time, though, and not ready for Snatchy. So a clean anti-eco coming in from the from the VP side, I should say.
Yeah, pretty clean, only actually losing the 1 player in the end, so they'll be pretty happy with being able to do that. It wasn't a lot of investment, though, of course, from Kinguin, so they probably weren't expecting to find all that much. Putting in the nades, at least they probably wanted to maybe try and take down a few players, but coming into this one now, they do have to buy. It's slightly better than that in terms of the weaponry, at least, than what VP have coming into this one. They've gone ahead and actually bought themselves up all the helmets. They realized that it's likely that some of those SMGs are going to be retained into this round for VP, and that is the case, so it probably is for the best. But the problem then, of course, is that they do only, with 1 minute and 30 seconds now after throwing out 1 smoke, only have a single one left into the hands of Reitz. No flashes, nothing else to work with. It's going to be really just down to the aim duels here in this round.
CT side especially need those initial frags Very, very difficult indeed going into the retake. No kits and no utility, like you say. VP as well, that lead has just swung back in their favor, but Kinguin, known for their nuke play, could certainly start getting into things on the CT side. It is definitely one of the stronger parts of their game, as we saw yesterday. First little meeting here, Rallen and Reitz able to hold down the A site pretty decisively, in fact. Trades coming in relatively quickly. There's a couple back for the T side. Neo, don't give him these opportunities, almost connects the spray on towards Mouse, but not quite able to do so. And it will be that CT side, despite the fact that they had no utility. I mean, VP perfectly play into their hands, in all honesty. Just kind of a couple of smokes and running into the A site sort of one by one. It really works out for Kinguin there. That's the exact situation they'd want to be in. And now a relatively good buy from them. A weak one from VP, but the AWP in play, I suppose, in the hands of Snatchy could be the difference maker.
As I said, though, if he's not able to make that up work early on, now that there is the utility available for Kinguin as well, once he tries to push into one of those bottom sites, it can become very difficult at close range. But let's see, because early on, we do see VP trying to find that outside control. Rallen able to pretty much immediately shut down Morels. Although it does seem like Snatchy has a bit of a read here about the positioning of Reitz. He's waiting to see if the peak is going to come in, and Reitz, you can see him slowly inching sideways. He's looking to try and go for it, and sadly, he is going to end up falling. Goes ahead and gives a bit of an opportunity for VP. Up to this point, it is just going to be continuous trades. A 3-on-3 eventually coming in. Neo at least retrieving himself an M4 to work with, but where are VP going to try and take this is the question. Neo is just advanced down onto that B-bomb site, but he is alone. That's the problem. The bomb is nowhere near him currently.
Meeting outside Rallen and Mihu, just kind of battling it out a little bit, but not a great deal happening. Just a few bits of damage here. It was a very quick start, a flurry of frags at the beginning of this round, but everything seems to have slowed down a little bit. Mouse is in such a great position, though, if he can make this work. Mihu to come in from decon. It looks like they're going to split through all three entrances to this B side that they've got available to them. Mouse needs to be careful. Neo watching the angle will at least push him away. You're not able to pick him up. So it's still a 3-on-3 with 25 seconds remaining. Very obvious it's going to be the B bomb site. Oh, that was a must pick up kill for Mouse, surely. Mihu takes him down, but in on the flank, it's Rallen to deny the bomb plant. That's going to make things awkward. Taz strikes at the right time. Snatchy does pick up Rallen, however. So that allows this 1v1, this bomb plant to come in. Neo versus Taz, the old stalwarts of Polish CS in this 1v1 as the bomb goes down. Neo, known for his smarts for the past almost 15 years, as he moves in, gets the positional advantage and takes down Taz. Retrieves the AWP as well, and that's going to be certainly a good feeling for him to secure that one. Good for the confidence, and VP continue to extend this lead. Kinguin CT side is now going to get reset.
Yeah, they've completely broken their economy now, which is likely actually going to push them, I would imagine, straight down to the double eco, because of course they barely scraped out the full buy in that round. It was, I believe, Taz on an auto shotty, so it wasn't really ideal. So it'll be interesting to see what they're actually able to find into this one. And yeah, as we can see, it's not great. Similar to what we've seen from VP on the force bet that they pulled off and actually made it work over on the CT side with the scouting and the pistols to back it up. So let's see what they're going to be able to find. Taz just immediately gets aggressive and towards the lobby, able to take down Neo. Pasha with one trade before he himself has fallen to the CZ of Reitz. But again, just trades being found quite equally by either side. A 3-on-3 going to be in play. Although VP have managed to actually get themselves quite a lot of control. There's currently no one actually on that A bomb site, and as you can see, Mihu has been able to creep his way in towards main. And I think he may find out pretty soon that they can probably just walk onto the site and get that bomb planted. Although Taz trying to come up the ladder, I was going to say he could be in with a chance to maybe catch one off guard, but instead it's him that's in for a little bit of a surprise when the spam comes through.
Yeah, I wanted to recover the control on the A site that they were kind of aware of the fact, you know, VP could have taken, but unfortunately a little bit too late on it. Everybody's already here. That bomb going to go down, and now, sure, they have the kit, but with very little utility. Oh my god, that is so awkward. I was going to say, Reitz surely doesn't want to go for this. Everybody else seems a little bit apprehensive, but they're moving in. They're actually doing good work here. It's all on to Mihu, and he gets overwhelmed at the back vent. Kinguin will actually manage to secure it. I didn't really think that they would fancy that one, maybe just save what they had going into the next round, but it's Reitz with the quick play up the ladder, somehow getting away with it. I feel like if he doesn't get that kill, they do just back away, the remaining two players, but a bit of a mistake I think it was Mihu up there. To let him get away with that is pretty questionable.
Yeah, it was just a little bit awkward, I guess, is one way to put it. Having a look at the scoreboard, it's overall fairly equal. You can see just kind of the one standout player on either side, with Mihu leading the way for VP. Rallen up at 25-12, which is kind of expected. It was talked about how recently he was a standout performer for Kinguin over, I believe it was Toyota Bangkok Masters. There wasn't really a big selection of maps to go off of, but he was one of the top performers overall, being, I believe, the second best at the event in terms of rating. So coming into this one now, Kinguin able to make that force buy work in that previous round somehow with the retake as well. And that means VP, they're the ones now that are going to have that economy reset, forced down to just the pistols, not going to bother going for the force buy. They want to ensure coming into this next round that they will be able to get the purchase in. But that means that we are likely going to see Kinguin go ahead and reclaim the lead for themselves.
Can't write off the pistols yet, though, Dean. I mean, from what we've seen across these 2 days, some of the teams here do seem to struggle quite a bit with dealing with the anti-eco situations, especially when they go 1 or 2 players down early on. Rallen holding quite a close angle outside. In fact, here's that flash coming in. Aware of the fact of what it's for. Double spray down from him. Manise, meanwhile, drops the bomb. I think that should pretty much be game, set, and match at this point. That's a bit of team damage as Mouse walks across, but it's okay. It doesn't really affect him too much in the end. Crack angle being held by Neo, but as Rallen moves back in, it's an easy pickup. Nice little triple for him, as the eco frags are easy peasy. It will be another round going the way of Kinguin, so I believe now, yep, they will be taking that lead only just. It is certainly a very close one here, though. This is kind of not what we were expecting. VP not the best of nuke teams with this current iteration. Kinguin, meanwhile, are a great nuke team, so the fact that it is this close is quite interesting, but
it's been very sloppy, though.
Yeah, I think being on the CT side now and stringing a few together, Kinguin, or if they do, Kinguin should be able to cleanly take this one.
Yeah, Snatchy on the up again, though. Let's see if he's going to be able to find much. Was, of course, looking to try and find the opening pick there from the door, but getting smoked off early on means he's probably not going to be able to find anything quite yet. Mouse playing up close on the smoke towards ramp. Has to be cautious, of course. Pasha just on the other side, but it's Manise to actually go ahead and open things up. He's going to find that opening kill with the up towards Mihu. Pretty quickly pulls it into an advantageous position for Kinguin, and I think with that, Mouse is probably going to just fall back off from that position. Doesn't really need to try and force the issue anymore. He needs to be cautious, as actually Pasha is looking to try and push forward off of that. You heard the footsteps, I believe, falling back. He is going to be able to actually spot out Mouse and pretty quickly take him down. Does need to be cautious. There is another player, of course, in towards the back box. That is Reitz, but he himself is going to be in for a bit of trouble if he decides to go for that peek, because there is a couple of players waiting for him in the ramp room, but never mind. Pasha was the only one. He realizes pretty much instantly that it's best if he just falls back off himself and joins up with his teammates.
Oh, starting to move in through the door. They don't think there's anyone here. Taz is good for one, but Morels had already crept in behind him to get the immediate trade. Still into a 3-on-2, though, as Rallen finds a bit of a straggler. Bomb going to go down, however. So this is certainly doable. Snatchy on that AWP as well. Can never write him off on that. We don't have a great deal of utility to work with, but there's kits available, so time galore. Morels looks away at the wrong time, but he tries to deal with Reitz. Unfortunately, cannot. It's all into Snatchy 1 versus 3. Misses the second shot. They're encroaching in, and he misses another shot. Has to be careful, and unfortunately, his leg's sticking out around the corner. Rallen will deal with him. He was given his opportunities. It did look like for a second if he landed them, he was able to, you know, kind of back away, but I think he was thinking a bit too far in the future, thinking about if he did hit the shots, how would he play it? And unfortunately, he fails at the first hurdle, so the round will end up going the way of Kinguin. Rallen, though, it has to be said here, as we kind of see the temporary HUD having a hell of a game, 30-12. He is, you know, far and away by 10 frags, the highest fragger on the server.
It's good to see Taz having a good game, though. He's sitting up there at 19 as well.
True.
Of course, coming in as the in-game leader. He is going to be leading them mentally, and then also coming in and setting a good example by being able to actually put up a pretty solid performance himself is always good to see. But yeah, again, VP just going to be put back down to the pistols. They have at least some utility to back it up, and with 4 smokes and 2 flashes, I would imagine that they do have a bit of a set plan coming into this one. It'll be interesting to see what they will aim for. With 4 smokes, outside control may be a bit more likely, especially as we do see actually a couple of players still back in the spawn. that normally indicates that they will be throwing those smokes towards outside. But let's see, VP, can they try and at least get some damage done? They've done overall a pretty good job. You can see, of course, there's a couple of players over on that Kinguin side that haven't really built up any money. So if they can keep it modest, they definitely have a chance to try and come back into this one. But it's Maniz now towards outside. He's going to find the first contact. It was a little bit iffy on the first shot as he wasn't able to connect it, but not going to go ahead and miss it the second time around. And with a kill being found elsewhere as well by Reitz, it is looking to be another pretty convincing round to come in for the Kinguin side.
Yeah, I think this is where, you know, VP are kind of falling a little bit flat. In this second half, they picked up a few rounds, but unfortunately not able to build up the economy in a good way. So it's like as soon as they lose a couple, they're into the situation where it's like buy, lose a round, quasi-buy. You know, even on that T side, they're not consistently getting bomb plants. It is starting to become a little bit too dominant from Kinguin for VP to actually deal with.
I don't think we've seen many bomb plants at all. I think there was the one where they were able to get onto that A site a while ago, and it was Snatchy, of course, who wasn't able to pull off the clutch in the end. But other than that, I don't really recall too many bar the pistol.
Definitely not had any clean bomb plants, for sure, where, you know, they have an advantage or they're able to get good control. They're always very panicked.
Yeah, usually being in a position where they are working with a bit of a disadvantage or so. Even when they were even earlier in the half when they tried to bring it down to B, I think it was, they were trying to get that plant down, of course, and Rallen was able to deny it, and then eventually they got that round win thanks to Neo clutching out the one-on-one, but as you said, it was a very close one. Didn't really allow them to build up any economy for themselves. But here we go, VP are back on the buy, Snatchy going to have the op again. There's plenty of utility alongside those rifles, but if VP aren't able to make this one work, or at least find a bomb plant, then they will likely have to go ahead and allow for Kinguin to find themselves map point.
Taz looking cool, calm, and collected on the player cam. Been doing so well here. That's nice from Neo, though, on the return spray. They open up the door, use a little bit of utility in a few of these positions. There's Reitz to try and deal with in at Heaven, but Taz has jumped in towards Squeaky. He's actually behind Morels. He's made his way in towards the site. Reitz is quickly able to deal with him, though, before Pasha trades it. So this position from Taz could actually be beneficial going into the last stage of the round. Mihu crept in behind, going to allow for this bomb plant. And suddenly Taz has to strike, surely. A little bit too fast for Pasha, not ready for anyone to be in that position so quickly. He knows that there's one in at Heaven as well. Taz trying to do all the work here, but might be worth waiting for Maniz to help him out. Flash going to come in, quick up the ladder, misses the shot though, Mihu to take him down. It's all on to Taz. Tap on towards the bomb. He has no idea where Snatchy is, but the AWP again not been so great for him up close, and Taz will secure it, gets the kit just to be sure. But Kinguin in with a 13th, and essentially a 1 versus 3 from Taz, as there wasn't a great deal of help from his teammate.
Yeah, that was very awkward when he dropped down and ended up actually passing Morels and making his way into door. But as you said, he did recover it by actually going ahead and winning the round in the end. And it's 14-10 now. At least the bomb plant came in, so VP likely will be able to buy off the back of that, but they're just in such an awkward position now. Kinguin are beginning to run away with this lead. They've already reached 14 rounds, and if VP aren't able to make this one work, then it could be pretty much the end of the game at that point.
You know,
or at least the map. And it's best of 3, of course.
Well, I suppose it's kind of, I'm in the camp of calling maps games as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the match is the overall series. So, but I know what you're getting at. Unfortunately, Virtus Pro have looked a little bit lackluster on this T side. It's kind of what I think we were worried about. Relatively good start due to the pistol, but once the rifles have come out, Kinguin have just been so very dominant, and the fact that it was very close in that first half just means that VP don't have very much breathing room. They needed to stop the bleeding quickly, and unfortunately they do not appear able to do that at this point. Just a couple more rounds, like you say, required for Kinguin. And again, they've been winning them fairly dominantly. If VP take this one, there still will be a buy-in for Kinguin, the threat of the reset.
I'm surprised we haven't even just seen kind of a basic A execute coming in from VP as of yet. As it was mentioned, of course, the last time these two teams played, it was 16-5 for Kinguin. It seems like VP definitely have some improvement coming in, but is it enough is the question. Already Maniz is able to take down Morels with that AWP, pretty quickly bring it into a favorable position for Kinguin. Although VP have been able to advance their way down on towards B, and that's a nice Molotov force and mouse out of position. Doesn't actually manage to take him down or anything, but at least gives them a bit of info about where he is. That sound cue, of course, being found. Mihu coming in on the flank. It's Neo to actually find that kill forced over towards the ramp room. And suddenly with a 3-on-2 now, this bomb should be planted. And things are looking the best they have in quite a while for VP.
Nice little angle from Neo as well to find Taz. So Reet's just going to back away and save. Like I say, they are going to have money to buy up into this one, but it's still, being on that CT side, fairly expensive. So I think they need to get any help that they can with this buy. Maybe an AK retrievable for Reet's, perhaps. Is he going to go for it? Does he prefer the M4?
That'd be risky. I feel like Reet's should probably just save this M4 over, give it to Maoz, of course, who's working with a pretty low economy for himself. He wouldn't be able to get the full investment into the next round. But also, then again, if he can take down one more player from VP, that's going to limit their buy into this next round. They won't be able to get all the weapons that they would hope for. He's given a bit of a chance there, but sadly unable to connect his shots. Realizes it is best for him to back off. As you can see now, is of course with 2750, he needs a drop over. It is only Reetz who can actually give that over to him. So it does eventually come in as the save. So an 11th round now for VP. Go ahead and get themselves a little bit of a lifeline and keep themselves in it for now and not allow for Kinguin to reach map point. But as we said, of course, Kinguin, they can manage to get another investment now into this round. They have the op, they have all the rifles, and they have a chance to just try and instantly break the economy here at VP, which would just put them in a position to go ahead and close this map out here and now.
A little bit of a faster take in this one from VP, it would seem. Just keeping the CT side guessing. Mihu trying to be proactive, can't find onto Maniz, so will return the frag. It's a kill in from Neo, however, to keep things interesting. Gonna try and flash through the smoke. Snacks was always famous for that. Taz is ready for it though as he was hidden away. Tries to spray down as he thought there were more players coming through. Snatchy follows the traces. It's been so many trades at this point in time. The smoke not yet dissipated means that they can actually drop down the vents in towards B. CT's not reading into this as yet. Obviously, they will know in just a few moments once this bomb goes down. There's a lot of utility actually left for both sides, so this could be an interesting retake. A man advantage, obviously, for Kinguin. Only for a second, though, as Snatchy takes down Reetz. He's left on low HP, but on that AWP, it's not going to matter a great deal. Repositions to watch ramp, as that's where both the CTs are going to be coming from in just a few moments.
Yeah,
creeping on through.
It's actually a pretty solid afterplant because Morel's in that position can just try and watch above himself, but Mao's going to be coming down. Quickly finds the first kill on the Snatchy. Morel's now in the corner, his position known. And Maniz is going to come in and clean it up with a quick shot, but I don't know if he has time for this bomb defuse. I think it is going to be a close one. Oh, not quite. It ends up actually going in favor of VP.
Well, well, well. A little bit of luck on the side of VP there to secure them the 12th. But perhaps that's all they need at this point to, you know, maybe take it in regulation, at least try and secure an overtime. It is certainly getting a little bit close here as Kinguin do not have a great deal of money coming into this one. That is filthy from Snatchy, to be fair, to follow those traces.
It was a wild play by Neo as well. I don't think pushing through that smoke was really needed by him.
Yeah, and, you know, like I say, Taz was completely ready for it. That's why you hide in that position behind the vents, right, is to essentially play a really, really easy anti-flash.
Yeah, and just in general, more of a passive setup, waiting for the player to push into your crosshair, and that's pretty much what Neo gifted to him. But into this one, just some upgraded pistols, 2 digs, a few P250s, and the hope here for Kinguin is to try and just continue to keep this economy low. Of course, not a single player surviving in that previous round. If they are actually able to drop a few of these players, VP would struggle to reinvest into the following round. But it's not looking very likely. They're having a pretty easy time so far. Snatchy and Pasha have been able to find 1 each. A couple of players have been tagged up, but as long as they stick together, we shouldn't really see them in too much threat of actually losing the round. But of course, as I say, that Pasha also receiving a dink, so suddenly this could get a little bit awkward, especially that dig in the hands of Rallen. We've seen how strong he's been playing throughout this game so far. And he's getting aggressive into the lobby. I was going to say he's in a great position, but he gets dinked by his teammate.
Yeah, a bit scared, a little bit panicked. Quite a few players do that in these sorts of rounds. They're just so ready, as you can see. The assist comes in for Miles. But 4-on-2, Miles going to try and creep round. Pasha is completely ready for it. Both those kills on 12 HP, so props to him, I suppose. The big man not been having the best of 2 days, I suppose, so far. Rallen unfortunately caught in between a few too many players there, and that's, you know, kind of what we would expect in a round like that. Tiny bit of damage done, so not all for naught, but relatively clean from Virtus Pro.
Getting more nice angles. That goes Blue Eyes. We're getting views of all their eyes. I think it's only the one player with the blue eyes. It is a little bit less common. But yeah, coming into this one now, the buy going to be coming back out for both sides. And this is probably the most important round yet we've seen in this game. Whoever takes this, if Kinguin can take this, it puts him up to map point, of course, but VP would still be able to buy. If it's the other way around, then Kinguin likely going to have to eco and allow for VP to actually reach map point for themselves. So it's a crucial one, and already Snatchy being able to open things up, and it's a big name to claim. Drops Rallen early on, Mihu being able to actually creep around in through main to find a bit of an opening onto this A-bomb site now as he creeps in and catches Taz off guard, and suddenly VP are looking amazing in this round. They've just completely put a stop to this defense. They've gone ahead and opened up pretty much everywhere on the map at this point, and as you can see, Reitz and Meniz want nothing to do with the remainder of this round. They're beginning to back off. One kill being found, but it's really just a small consolation at this point.
Has to be said, Rallen had been playing really well these past few rounds, though. He's not fragged at all. I'd say in the past kind of 3 or 4, he's been on 30 frags for quite some time now. And that is obviously a bit of an issue for Kinguin when you've got a player who is so important, been doing so much damage. As soon as they drop off, everybody else on the team maybe has gotten a little bit complacent or used to having that one player to at least consistently pick up 1 kill. So it really does make a difference when they stop performing. Obviously on that CT side especially, you need everybody to be pulling their weight. And I think there is a little bit of a case of Rallen pulling the weight of 2 or 3 players, and as soon as he stops, there's no one really there to replace him. Timeout going to be coming in. Would not be surprised if this is not a tactical for Kinguin, as things are starting to get a little bit dicey for them. Virtus Pro looking really good in these past few rounds. Again, Kinguin had a string of dominant rounds. It does seem now that Virtus Pro are on that path of domination so far. Yeah, it is indeed a pause for the Penguins. But it's a little bit difficult. I think the past couple of rounds, they've not had the best amount of utility, but those first 2 that VP won where they kind of, needed to win it to stay in the game, there was just a little bit too much miscommunication. Some rounds where they started off with a bit of an advantage and then kind of threw it away, or one player, Mihu, Morel's kind of creeping in somewhere that they shouldn't necessarily be allowed to do, whether it's through A main, whether it's through heaven, a bit too much control outside perhaps. But VP have had some very sneaky plays in these past few rounds that have just really caught that CT side off guard.
Yeah, and it's actually the force buy coming in from Kinguin. Not looking to try and play from overtime. They're perhaps confident that they can go ahead and get themselves the victory here and be able to actually just close it out in regulation. But let's see, because if they do end up losing this one, they'll be working with a much weaker buy into what potentially could be the final round of this map. And let's see, Snatchy, he was the player who was able to open things up in the previous round. This time going to be changing up his position, trying to work it over towards the ramp. And actually, he may be in for a bit of trouble because Meniz is here with the AWP. A nice little flash going in to force him back off the angle initially. The repeat could be successful for him to take down Mihu, but a trade is returned on. But Kinguin, they'll be happy with that. They're able to get themselves into a 4-on-3, getting themselves a nice little man advantage to work with. And now VP on the back foot to try and work their way back into this round. Sure, they have the ramp control, but where are they going to try and take it from here is really the question.
Yeah, well, that is the difficulty, isn't it, Dean? As soon as you lose a round on the side of VP, Kinguin are already a pretty hefty advantage. That is such a mistake from Mouse, though. They kind of lined up for him a little bit there, and he's not able to find anything. This bomb plant going to come in, but certainly easier said than done. It's on the wrong side for Rallen, however. That nade does a great deal of damage. Morel's left on 8 HP. It is definitely doable here. The auto shotgun might be a little bit useless, however, because of the long-range angles, but then again, low HPs. There's kits in play. There's a fair amount of utility to use for the CT side if they do so correctly. Snatchy getting smoked out pretty heavily on the AWP. Reed's going to get tagged down slightly. No peeks as yet coming in from any of these T-side players. Not a great deal of time remaining. Neo, the first port of call, is going to fall. The defuse coming in, though. And the kit available for Reeds. He's going to get the hold, but he gets taken down by Snatchy. The P250 does it. It's 15-14. Virtus Pro have pulled it back to at least an overtime and possibly the victory. Like you said, Dean, the money is so bad for Kinguin coming into this final round of regulation.
Yeah, that previous force buy was really all risk reward, high risk, high reward, and sadly they don't manage to find the reward. It's actually not that terrible of a buy. They have 4 rifles, one of them being a FAMAS, 3 M4s, and then a scout onto Meniz, which can at least put in some damage. So it's better than I thought it was going to be, but it's obviously not perfect. They don't have a diffuse kill, so if it comes into a position again where they have to try and retake, that's where they're going to be in for a lot of trouble. And VP now just looking confident. They've warmed up. They are going to be coming into this round here looking to try and close it out on Nuke, which of course is the map choice of Kinguin, and it was pretty much a map that I think everyone said Kinguin were going to be able to pick up in this series.
Ooh, scout shot lands. Meniz not quite able to get the second shot to land, but at least a little bit of damage done by him and some information gained before he falls. However, the man advantage slips away. Oh, Mouse just gets away with jumping down as Mihu had crept in. He's going to have gained a lot of information as well, though, because of the amount of sound that's being made here. This is something he's done so well on this T side recently, is just getting himself into some really sneaky spots, very quiet, catching players off guard or gaining information due to sound cues. Kinguin perhaps a little bit sloppy with that type of play. As you can see, he just knows how to work around, knows possibly where he could be, says that there's no one directly on B to his teammates, so perhaps that's where VP's end goal is going to be.
They do need to get a bit of a move on, though, of course. Time could become a bit of an issue, especially with Mouse still hiding in towards the back of the bomb site. He gets the timing perfectly to go ahead and take down Mihu. Taz able to find himself a couple of kills up towards the A bomb site alongside with assistance from Reitz and Rallen. And there you have it. We're taking into overtime. It was looking good there to start things off to try and close it out for VP. But as the time became an issue, they were kind of just forced to try and push their way into that bomb site and doing so in a little bit of a disgruntled fashion, not being in positions to try and trade off of each other as quickly as they would have hoped.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure what happened there towards the end of that round. It started off kind of well for VP. They got that outside control, took down, you know, the scout, which could have devastated by getting a fair few tags. But then all of a sudden, you know, it just fell by the wayside. A bit of a dodgy push in towards A, some great crossfires from Kinguin. I think a combination of the two. And VP just get mowed down. So a slightly anticlimactic end to regulation, as we will, of course, move in towards overtime. The 16K and the CT side for Kinguin to start off. A very aggressive push in towards lobby here. Do need to be very careful, though, as Snatchy and Neo have already dealt with it. It seemed like they tried to come in from all sides, but VP very ready indeed. Neo in with the double. Meniz and Miles the only ones remaining. Now just Meniz on that orb. Has to find all 5 here. I don't really think it's doable at this point in time. Maybe just an idea. Yes, they've got 16K, you know, or, well, about 10 now. But that AWP is very expensive. Probably just an idea to save.
I like the idea there from Kinguin just to switch things up. I don't think we actually seen them go for any aggressive plays like that. There was the ones when they had the pistols, of course, but with the rifles, it wasn't something they had actually gone for. But Meniz still looking to try and push in off the back of this one. Does end up taking down Snatchy before being dropped by Pasha. And VP go ahead and pick themselves up the opening round of overtime. As we said, though, of course, the money is still sufficient for Kinguin to go ahead and get the full investment in again. They won't have any trouble buying into the following round, even if they do lose this one. But, of course, ideally now Kinguin going to want to go ahead and pick themselves up 2 rounds here on the CT side to try and at least have some form of a lead as they head onto the T side. Otherwise, it could be a little bit difficult. But yeah, the confidence there, I guess, from Kinguin does kind of backfire. I like the idea, as I said, that they tried to switch things up. But VP, they seem to be prepared for it.
Yeah, I think they were sort of in the right place at the right time, not sort of 100% reading into it. But it did seem like Kinguin as well, it was a little bit messy from them. Something that maybe they haven't worked on, but Taz just decided on the fly. Rallen as well going to get taken down early here as his aggression gets punished. Meniz trying to answer back, misses the first shot, and does need to be careful as Mihu is playing into him, but that's maybe what they wanted. Mouse was watching it with a bit of an off angle, Mihu not expecting that at all. So it's into a 4-on-4. Pasha's made his way on towards A, takes down Mouse, who is completely unexpected. A lot of, again, sneaky little spots from the VP side. Taz immediately traded by Snatchy, so the man advantage retained by VP here, and the bomb goes down on A. Again, I think it might just be another save situation, or at least it should be another save situation. Perhaps they'll go similar to what they did in the previous round, though, and try and go for it. Meniz does need to be careful. He's got very little money. Reitz has a lot of weight on his shoulders. Neo is very ready for him indeed. Pasha going to get dropped, but Neo with the wall bang impact from behind. That is beautifully played by him. Yeah. Really coming alive, especially in overtime.
They pretty much had to go for that there, though. They have enough money to reinvest, of course. I mean, sure, he was a little bit lower, but he can drop an M4 over getting up in return. So it was the right idea, in my opinion, for them to actually go for that retake, because it doesn't really make much of a difference coming into this final round of the first half of overtime. But, of course, now the problem is VP, they're going to have a lead no matter what heading into the second half of it. And there's a nice little replay. Neo picks up the headshot towards Heaven, quickly flicks over, and finds himself the spam in towards Hook. 17-15. As I said, Kinguin, they can easily get the buyout again into this round, but they need to make this count. They need that 16th round if they want to give themselves a bit of a chance to try and pull themselves back into this. Again, it is the map choice of Kinguin, and this time around they are making it count. Mouse and Mini's been able to find the opening kills. Kaz able to get one as well before he eventually drops into the crosshair of Neo, and does at least give some form of an opening back towards VP, but it is still quite heavily favored for Kinguin.
Yeah, Taz does fall there, but I guess it's kind of a good trade-off, especially because he gets that dink onto Neo. It's the informational play as well. So they're able to just sort of set up and hold things cleanly in towards the A site. Nice little pickup from Neo as well to find Manise rotating in. Snatchy, meanwhile, is outside. So they're a little bit split on the T side, trusting in each other to at least do some damage before falling. Neo perhaps trying to bait that it is that B site, whereas Snatchy still has the decision to go wherever he wants. Neo going to fall. Oh, and I don't think Snatchy is ready for Reitz to still be here. Just holding that close angle, really going to be pesky for the AWP. Spots out the barrel before he sees the player, and the pre-fire is clean. It will be a round recovered by Kinguin. So not all bad for them, but Virtus Pro in with 2 towards the end, towards the start rather of that first half of overtime is pretty good for them. They had a relatively good CT side, but still very difficult to call this one, Dean. It's been so back and forth throughout the course of this game.
I'm a bit worried right now for Kinguin, in all honesty, because of course when they were on the T side initially, they did have Rallen going to firing on all cylinders, but we've only seen him pick up 2 frags since like the middle of the second half, I think it was.
That's
you of course mentioned that he was on 30 for quite a while. He's only managed to bring his way up towards 32.
Everybody else seems to have picked it up on the Kinguin side.
Yeah.
I think that's why.
That's good to see, but
overtime.
Overall, from what we've seen of this team, Rallen is kind of the one that is the playmaker, which is, especially on Nuke, I think can be something that is very vital to try and open things up. But let's see, coming into this one, Kinguin need to pretty much pick up this opening round of the second half if they want to keep themselves in with a chance to try and take it here in overtime number 1. VP, 1 round to at least confirm a second overtime, 2 for them to go ahead and take the victory here on Nuke. And let's see if they can make it count. Pasha going for the AUG now. He's going to allow for Snatchy to have the op for himself at least, but he does bring out some form of a scoped weapon.
Not actually seen the AUG a great deal from either of these teams. It's something
more old school.
I'm trying to think. Was it Liquid?
Liquid yesterday.
They pulled out like 4 in their game against VP or something at one point, which
I think Big picked them up a bit as well.
Yeah. Mini's going to get tagged up early though. That's a little bit of an issue for Kinguin. Obviously VP only need the 2 to win. So we'll just kind of run away and reset, go for a bit of an outside execute here. Snatchy melted slightly, but mainly pushed out of position is the problem there. So the outside given over to Kinguin relatively easily. I think they're going for somewhat of a vent split perhaps, or maybe a little bit of a fake. Trying to keep the CTs guessing is the point. They made their way out towards A. Reitz able to get the quick trade in. It's Neo. He's wasted so many bullets and runs out, so Taz makes quick work of him. Pasha taken down to 10 a little bit earlier, but Miyu is able to trade back, bring it into a 3-on-2, a doable situation again for the CT side. This is looking good. Rallen, a linchpin, but Snatchy catches him off as he moves back in towards Secret, and Manise falls with the AWP, of course. A little bit unfortunate towards the end for Kinguin, but cleanly recovered by VP in all fairness. I think it was a little bit too telegraphed from the T side there.
Yeah, the predictions for you, me, and Mitch right now not looking great, in all honesty. The 3 of us, of course, went for Kinguin, saying that they would be able to pick up Nuke pretty easily, and we thought off the back of that would be able to close it out on one of the next 2 maps. But VP right now getting their way towards map point on a map that we all expected Kinguin to pick up really convincingly.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, though, Taz himself admitted that Kinguin struggled with closing games out. And that is exactly what we have seen here. 14-10 at one point.
He also said that they struggle with the executions, and we've seen them kind of be a little bit, as I said earlier on, disgruntled in these pushes.
Indeed. So they know what the issues are. It's just a case of how do you fix it?
Definitely going to be a one that upsets Kinguin if they do end up losing this one. Good work by Snatchy being able to find those 2 quick kills over towards the secret position to at least keep a man advantage for VP. Mihu also in a solid spot here as he should be able to catch Maniz off guard. Pretty much a free kill at that point. Spots out a second, but Rallen, he steps it up to go ahead and take 1. Can he manage to recover this alongside Taz now? The in-game leader, and what I would say is the star player, to try and save the day for Kinguin and keep them alive in this map.
The brains and the brawn of Kinguin working together to try and keep them in it for just another round. Certainly easier said than done. Pasha creeping round, will catch off Rallen, drops the bomb, leaves it all onto Taz in a 1-on-3. Has the element of surprise but gives himself away. Gets dinked down to 5 HP to find 2 more full HP players. I think this is all but over in all honesty, Dean. Neo finishes him off and it will be Nuke going the way of Virtus Pro. Not what any of us really expected in that kind of a fashion, at least. Kinguin had been performing so well on it in recent memory, but the comeback from VP, you know, it was 14-10 like we just mentioned a few moments ago. And Taz, he's like, in that interview, I said we struggle closing the game. It's true. It's true.
He doesn't even look too upset.
It's just disappointment at this point.
Yeah. It's definitely something we've seen them struggle with yesterday as well, losing in overtime up against NRG. That's 2 matches they've played so far. Both of the times they've lost them 19-16.
Yeah, it is indeed a pretty sad situation, honestly. The Polish derby, though it will continue, of course. That's only the first map. And I'm pretty excited to see where it goes from here, because VP looked really good towards the end of that one, in all honesty. It was a little bit of a struggle for them on the T side of things, but once they got back into the groove, once they figured out what was going wrong, they actually kind of dominated Kinguin a little bit, and Kinguin just did not seem to have a game plan to fall back on once their side of things started going wrong, whereas VP were able to recover after a pause, I believe.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like VP started off a bit shaky. Of course, we've seen some of the players, specifically, I suppose Pasha was having a little bit of trouble in the individual level early on, but was able to recover a little bit more towards the end. So, yeah, VP, impressive that they are able to pull off the win there. As I said, puts them now in a great position, heading onto their own map choice of Mirage to actually try and close this one out with a 2-0 now.
Yeah, indeed. I think it will be really interesting to see, but that's going to be it from us for a little while. We'll be, of course, throwing back to James and the analyst desk to break down that first map.
Dean giving us a bit of a pen drop rather than a mic drop. We'll take that from him. But Virtus Pro certainly dropped bombs and heads across the map, guys, when it comes into this, because this was Kinguin's pick. This is where Kinguin looked dominant, and we literally spoke about it, right? Taz said it in the interview. We have struggled to close out games where you just struggled once again. It went to overtime, which, okay, that whole 14-15, the way it went from there was respectful. I thought, okay, Kinguin, look, you might have a chance to come back into this. But VP, they were just hungry.
They were, and I have to be honest, fair play to Kinguin, right? But it seems to me like Virtus Pro had the opportunity to close that game earlier. I think they lost a few rounds that they shouldn't have. Yep. For example, the anti-eco they had on the second half. So, but it was an interesting nuke in the sense that the risk when you watch or play nuke is that you have a CT side that's a complete wall and you end up with a 13-2 scoreline. It's not very fun. Ts have no money. CTs have all the money. Here, both teams very capable on their T side, very diverse game plan. Could play the inside, could play the down split towards the Volcano. So that was a very interesting game in that sense. But to me, VP had all the cards and they made it a little bit complicated for themselves.
Yeah, and that was one of the points I was going to get to, right? It wasn't the fact they just made it complicated for themselves. They had the good start, and then there was just some questionable decisions. We're sat there looking at like, okay, guys, come on, you know how to play better than this. We spoke about the experience, and I think as we got further throughout this map, that's when it started to come through, right? When it was like getting to these closer situations, VP actually managing to pull it out the bag.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to remember as well, you had that 8-7 half for Kinguin, and over on their T side, they were looking pretty good coming through things. I was starting to build up a little bit of confidence, but we had some really interesting setups. VP were showing early on that they've rethought how they approach this map. They tried some things they hadn't before. They were baiting them into ramp, playing that passive play in a particular round by Mihu where he picked up the 3K, and really he broke the economy of Kinguin at that point and allowed them to build up a couple more rounds. I feel like definitely VP came at this with a different approach to previously, and it's working out for them. Everybody kind of stepping it up over on that side. And you got to feel for Rollin in this situation. We talked about him before. He was sitting on 30 kills coming up to the end of regulation, and that's impressive from him.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Rollin got to the 30 points, the 30 kills real quick. I'm talking about 20, 22 rounds. He was already up there. And I think he ended up with 32 or 33.
Yeah,
so sadly for Kinguin, he kind of slowed down with it in him the most. But fair play to him. I mean, he was one of the main reasons why Kinguin was up there.
I wouldn't even necessarily say that he slowed down so much as VP just started shutting him down. Towards those last couple of rounds, you saw that he was being picked off at the start of almost every round. And credit to VP, they figured out what was going right for Kinguin and they turned it off.
In terms of turning it off, right, that was kind of, for me, what we looked at Kinguin. That kind of, they got hit, right, they got pushed back a little bit, and then it just, the momentum stopped with them. Now, we talk about, like, Counter-Strike being such a momentum-based game. We heard Taz get loud. We heard the guys shouting and screaming, but this time it just still wasn't enough. I feel like there's many rounds where it really could have just gone completely the other way, but now I'm pretty scared for Kinguin, because you go into Mirage, VP, this is a map that they like to play. Now, okay, Kinguin, it's Mirage. You can play it, right? We've seen it time and time again. But I just wonder how they're going to be feeling after that, because in their eyes, they're probably thinking, cool, we had Nuke 1, and then it just slowly slipped away from them.
No, you're right. I think Kinguin now in a difficult position. They're going to need to regroup and kind of forget about the first map because it was their pick.
Yeah.
They had all the possibility to close it. They were up 14-10, if I'm not mistaken.
14-10, exactly, yeah.
So, it's a challenge. It's a mental challenge to be able to say, okay, we lost our map. We had it in the bag. But you know what? There's nothing about it. Now it's a second map coming up. We win 1-1, and then we have just one map to win. But we say it sounds very easy at the desk, right? When you're playing, it's a different kind of story.
Yeah.
But that's where a player with the experience of Taz is important in a team, right? He can take people together and somewhat teach them or transpire to them, okay, we need to focus now. Forget about it. It's okay. We made a mistake. Move on to the second map.
Now, talking about Taz, right, he had a good game. He had some very clutch moments in there. He was on point across the board. But I feel like when it comes to Mirage now, they need more than just Rallen and Taz being up there and doing well, because this is going to be real difficult to shut down. We see some of the past results coming up on your screens now. Now, we saw the 16-10 against Liquid yesterday. And the thing is, one thing we did note from that was the VP, they didn't look bad, right? They started off real slow, but we often see that with VP. It's like a common theme. And then they started to grab a few rounds. But that was a respectable scoreline. They beat Kinguin last time around. You can see it on the screen. They've taken down Fnatic. They've taken down an LDLC who's been looking very good as well. When you come against Kinguin, these results aren't exactly something to be too happy about.
And they're not necessarily up against the same kind of caliber of teams, you know? Especially considering that they played up against VP. It was 16-11. At least that's somewhat of a close scoreline. The thing is, I feel like moving into it now with the momentum VP have built up. I mean, you think about how close Kinguin were to closing that previous map out. And that's the thing. They've got a lot of young players on the team. You start to get the adrenaline up. You start to get the momentum built. And then you're just shut out like that. It can be hard then moving on to map number 2. I said at the start, you know, I felt like they could actually take this if they managed to build up momentum on Nuke and moved it forward to the next maps. Now it's looking a little bit better for VP than it is for Kinguin.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. I feel like at the moment, VP just looks in better form, right? Snatchy, we looked at him. He was playing his AWP role pretty well. We saw a few things from Pasha when he was trying to pick up the AWP himself. It wasn't working, but they made the adjustment, right? We saw him towards the end there pick up the AWP. He was willing to kind of say, okay, look, Snatchy, you take control of this, right? I don't need to have this. And that was a big change.
I think a bright light for me as well is Neo's picking up his game.
Yes.
We have been talking about him slacking a little bit in the past month. That is a reality. But here in Nuke, he had very important trades. He'd even had like the double kill, which basically secures you around when you're at T-side.
Yep.
He was clutch in the moment that mattered. So if we can have that Neo on Mirage, then yes, that would be a big plus for VP.
And I think one of the other impressive things about VP was you recall towards the end of the first half, I think Mihu was nearly double the kills of everybody else on the lineup.
Very true, yeah.
You know, they were really struggling. They gave 8 rounds over to Kinguin. That's what we said, things were looking good for the Kinguin lineup. But then VP came back together, and they came back as a team. They played it together, and that's when everybody started to step up and have the even performance, when Neo was getting trades, when everybody was just aware that, look, let's not die alone, let's go as a unit, and their T-side really prevailed for them, which is something that didn't happen. Like the last time these two teams played, the 16-5, right? It's worth noting, that was a 10-5 T-side from Kinguin, and then 6 rounds in a row. So they only faced 2 full buys from VP.
Yeah.
This time we saw a couple more full buys come through, and things looked a lot better when they had the time to kind of work things up. So ultimately, I think 2 rounds really that VP won to bring them to that 8-7 instead of the 10-5 gave them enough of a buffer to come back into it.
Guys, thank you very much for your thoughts. It's going to be Mirage coming up next between these two teams. And as we ended it, the Bears certainly look strong. They've put the Penguins into a bit of a tatters, but they're still standing. They've not been eaten alive just yet. We're going to go to a quick break, but when we come back, it'll be back with Scriv and Dean to bring you all the action and see if Kinguin can bounce back.
Sie haben eine Big Box bestellt?
Frati, wer war das?
Das war irgend so ein hässlicher Typ, Mann. Riesengroß war der auch.
Hässlicher Typ? Ich mag keine hässlichen Typen.
Ich auch nicht, ey.
Was ist denn das?
Ich glaube, das ist so eine Big Box bei runtime.gg. Vielleicht sollten wir das Unboxing-Video machen. Lieber nicht, ne?
Banks are foul to move with the times, but we don't need them. Back in 11th century Italy, merchants from all over would exchange their different currencies for trade outdoors on benches, which is where we get the word bank from, banca. They started as a way of making our lives easier. Unfortunately, this all changed. As the bank profits grew bigger, customer experience was lost in a maze of paperwork and bureaucracy. They invented new and complicated ways of growing their margins, built on hidden fees and taking liberties with their customers' money. But there's a solution. Revolut Metal, a stainless steel card that does more than just look good. An authority to tear down borders, make our finances as mobile as we are. Free to spend in 130 currencies worldwide at the real interbank exchange rate. Think sending unlimited amounts of money abroad with no fees. With free worldwide travel insurance. Think seamlessly buying and selling cryptocurrency in seconds and earning cashback instantly in the fiat or cryptocurrency of your choice. Access to 24/7 concierge from your phone to book what you want when you need it. For a truly borderless lifestyle. And all this in your pocket. Demand more from your bank. Revolut Metal. Radically better.
Place your bets at gg.bet. Most popular esports titles. Deposit with convenient payment options. Cool mini games. And 24/7 support for players. Sign up now for the best esports bets at gg.bet.
Welcome back, everybody. We are going to be coming at you with that second map, of course, a very hard-fought first map going the way of Virtus.pro. I am, of course, Scriv. Joining me yet again, as always, is going to be Dean. We are super excited to bring you the second one. I think that was a really, really great opener to this series. You know, Kinguin off to a fab start, but then just kind of let it slip away towards the end.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a surprise for me that Kinguin, of course, don't end up picking up Nuke, and coming into this, of course, we both said that we thought Kinguin would be able to pick up the series overall, but I feel like now coming into Mirage, it's a map that we said was overall quite even between these teams, but would maybe give VP a little bit of an edge, but with the momentum now that they're going to be coming off with the back of from Nuke, I feel like we may actually be looking at a pretty quick 2-0 here in favor of VP.
Yeah, it's been a pretty difficult one in terms of predictions over the course of this weekend, to be honest. You know, Kinguin took NRG to overtime yesterday, which we didn't really expect, but it does seem to be a really big issue for Kinguin, is closing out those games, self-admitted by the in-game leader, you know, as we've talked about here and on the analyst desk a fair amount. So I think it is certainly an interesting one. The momentum is definitely something to really consider, because I feel that VP are going to be riding off that high. It's a little bit of a rivalry between these two teams just because of the fact that, you know, obviously some of the players played together both in years and years ago and also quite recently, some of the younger ones. But as well, it is that national derby that always has that air of rivalry about it. So I think it is going to be pretty important for VP that they were able to secure that first one. We thought it was going to go decisively in the way of Nuke. And you also have to look at it in the fact that a loss 19-17 is kind of, in my opinion, a little bit worse than losing like 16-3. Because if you don't have a hope in hell, then you kind of like, you check out a little bit and you're like, okay, let's move on to the next map. But if you actually feel like at a point you should have won the game, you could have won the game, and then you end up losing it, that's like even worse. It's sort of going back to what Chad said right at the start of the event is, you know, you have some really high highs being an emotional team, but you have some very low lows when things go awry, and I think that's really going to affect Kinguin coming into Mirage.
Yeah, I feel like it definitely will. It's going to be a difficult map for them indeed coming into this one, but I believe they are going to at least have the option to start off on the CT side, if I recall correctly. So with the map choice being VPs.
I think so. I think there was a knife on the first map though, so I think it might be knife for sides every map.
Maybe
just to keep
that's an interesting
consistent.
one. Normally in those best of threes, you do have the map.
Yeah,
choices,
I think it's a little bit of a classic setup, isn't it? We used to have where you would just knife for sides all the time, but it has very recently sort of passed. I'd say even like year and a half, 2 years. So it's not greatly recent, but in the lifespan of Counter-Strike, I suppose it is fairly recent.
Yep.
The fact that you pick the map, the other team picks the side, which can always, like you say, be a pretty interesting factor in the victory or in the loss, however it may be. You know, again, yesterday Kinguin starting off on the CT side might have made a bit of a difference for their best of one. So it is certainly an interesting kind of way of going about things. Taking the knife actually adds a little bit of strategy to it, especially in these best of threes. I think Mirage recently has become a little bit more even. If you've got a good T side, you can really make it work, but it is certainly comfortable starting off on that CT side. It does appear, regardless of whether they chose or knife, it is Kinguin starting off on that preferred side, I suppose, for them. Although I think this might actually be the knife. Yeah, I believe this is the knife, looking at the way that they're all just running into each other. So we'll find out here, Dean. We'll find out which way it goes, and it does look like it is actually going to go the way of Kinguin. So everything that we've kind of been talking about, them preferring the CT side, them starting off more comfortably, is going to come into fruition.
What do you think are the win conditions here for Kinguin for them to actually be able to get the victory on Mirage? Who's going to be the most important players if you were to choose maybe two that need to step it up?
So Rallen, a little bit more consistently. I know that sounds a little bit kind of silly because in the previous game he did hit that 30 bomb, but really early, as we kind of alluded to, and they talked about a little bit on the desk, it's very, very dangerous for you to go missing towards the end. I think Rallen needs to kind of step it up. Manise on that AWP for me was a little bit missing on Nuke as well. It's a very important linchpin on Nuke especially, and also on Mirage. If they opt to go for maybe a double AWP setup, you need that primary AWPer to be kind of firing on all cylinders. They did kind of step it up towards the end as a team rather than just relying on Rallen, but it was, again, a case of a little bit too little too late. So I think if, again, on that CT side, start off a little bit more comfortably this time around, it could certainly work out for them. But it was a very sketchy beginning and end for Kinguin, in all honesty. We'll have to see, though, coming into this, the pistol going to get underway.
Yeah, already looking to start things off. A little bit of a slower approach coming in from VP. It seems like maybe they are expecting some aggression to come in from Kinguin. Not really the case, as we can see they've gone for instead a little bit of a standard setup. One player in towards the CT spawn. Surprisingly playing this a retake without a defuse kit. They do have Taz then on mid to try and spot that push, and with a little bit of a stack towards B, that's where they put most of their presence, and it looks like it is going to be over towards A, where the attack is actually going to be coming in. This is going to be very difficult now for Reitz and Taz to really get much done at all. The hope for Reitz really is to just find one kill and maybe give them a bit of an advantage moving in towards that retake, but as I said, no defuse kit now. VP, they have the bomb planted. They had the time to go ahead and position themselves for the after plant, and this is going to be very tough for Kinguin as they begin to try and move in.
Nice trades coming in so far. It's this P250 of Neo trying to get work done, but everybody else is just stealing the kills away from him. All onto Reitz, who does manage to actually pick up a couple of kills here. Brought back into contention, but like you say, that bomb is ticking away and there's no kit available. It's going to be really difficult for him to find an inning here. They're just kind of hiding and playing the bomb. He actually gets a 4K as he finds Pasha on his way out. Neo will eventually get that one frag he'd been vying for the entire round. Makes it 2 in total after a quick little opener. But the pistol going the way of Virtus Pro, not quite as decisive as perhaps it could have been. As a nice little showing from Reitz, but like you said, again, no kit is a little bit of a blunder. Maybe a bit of miscommunication. It seems to be one of those things, at least from my experience, if you don't specify which player has to get it, everybody will just immediately get armor or whatever it is that they want. There never really seems to be a player that likes buying a kit, because you kind of have to play a little bit more passively to stay alive and make sure you've got it going into the retake.
Yeah, normally you just have that player who's in the CT spawn, so in that case it would have been Reet who probably should have picked it up, but it's old news at this point, of course. Coming into this one, it's just going to be the eco from Kinguin. They have Zeus coming out on Rallen, surprisingly. That's a $200 investment, and you can't really make that back either with the Zeus, because I think you do only get $100 for the kill, even if he does manage to find it. It's more the aim of trying to steal away a weapon that you can then use to maybe try and find some damage. And speaking of damage, it's actually going to be pretty successful so far for Kinguin. They've been able to take down 2 players, drop in a couple of weapons to at least make it a costly round. As we said, with very little investment. Anything they can find, really, they will be happy with. But it seems like VP should pretty much be able to recover this round from this point forward. 3v1 now, as Morale's actually just creeping out onto B, is there to go ahead and close things out. Finds the side of Minis. It's 2-0 for VP. But Kinguin, they're able to find the buy now. Reet's actually, he's the one who buys up the op and drops it over to Minis. And we can see they're going to have very little utility to work with. So again, coming into that first gun round, Kinguin are going to have to try and just make it work with their aim. And our technical pause we have coming in here, Scriv.
Yeah, I'm hedging my bets on this one. I think we should be okay overall, but obviously had a little bit of an extended one and then a very long game over on Nuke. So far it's made for a fairly long best of 3. We started probably at like 10:15. It's now like 12:20. So, but I think, the admins are on it. No one seems to be panicking kind of too much or, taking headsets off or whatever. I think it looks to be a general game issue rather than a big ol' PC issue. But again, it's really early on in the game. There's not a great deal to talk about. It's a bit of beef, honestly. But I don't know. I think Taz has been doing a kind of a good job here. I think it is an issue for Kinguin, though, that maybe there needs to be a little bit of a change maybe within this lineup. They've been together for a fair amount of time, and things just have kind of stagnated a little bit. Taz has done what he can. There was the event in Bangkok. Obviously, there was the event over in Shanghai, I believe. The other Toyota Masters with like Ghost and everyone that played there. I think it was in Shanghai, or was it directly in China? I can't 100% remember where it was, but
actually not sure.
Another, kind of little 100K kind of prize pool event where they had a good chance of winning, and I think they performed well initially, but again...
Oh, the Zotac Cup Masters.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Thank you very much. But yeah, they seem to have stagnated a little bit. VP still have a fair amount of time before people start saying, okay, maybe this lineup is not working either. But I think the... Taz clapping along. I love that. I love that. What a guy. What a guy. But yeah, I think maybe there is a little bit of an issue. There's obviously that other team within Poland that aren't here at the moment. AGO, however you want to go about pronouncing them. Obviously, Snatchy has moved away from that, but there's still pretty decent players remaining there. Groovy is another one that kind of comes to mind. I'm not really sure how locked in they are to contracts and things, but these seem to be the 2 biggest organizations in terms of, their reach, their money at the end of the day, to pull players away from those buyouts and things. So it's definitely something that could be considered if Kinguin continue to stagnate. But opening pick for me here as we get back into it, it is not that extended technical. It's just a little one at this point in time.
Yeah, thankfully so. You don't want to have a big pause again, putting a stop to the momentum, and it doesn't seem to have done so because VP already with the opening kill, but Taz able to get himself control of the bomb at least for a couple of seconds. A nice trade to be brought in by Mihu, and with that, actually, now there's no one left on this B bomb site. If they were to just push directly into B right now, they would be able to find an open bomb site, but as we can see, that's not going to be the case quite yet, and actually Reitz is going to be able to pick up one onto Pasha. Suddenly it's brought into a 3-on-2. Slightly favoring Kinguin. Morale still working with this Mac-10, is going to look to try and close in the distance. B definitely still being their objective, but Maniz, he could be in for a lot of trouble here in towards the back of the bomb site with the op players on both sides, but he has the cover. He takes down Neo, And luckily enough, he called for Mouse to be there to go ahead and make sure he wouldn't be flanked out. It is Kinguin to go ahead and recover from a pretty awkward position at the beginning of that round.
Really good positioning towards the end as well. They just essentially bait each other out as the distractions. And then obviously both relying on the fact that they land the shots. So very well done towards the end. A little bit of a mess from Virtus Pro, and now they're in with a very broken buy indeed. Mihu and Snatchy seemingly having a lot more money than the rest of the team. So it's going to be the AWP and the AK out for them. But not a great deal for everybody else. Nice opener from Snatchy though, taking matters into his own hands. It's one of those kind of rounds where, again, the looser playstyle can sometimes work out. He drops his AWPing foe on the other side. Pasha as well had pushed in. I don't think Rallen was expecting that at all. Gets dropped. All for naught, honestly. You know, he does a tiny bit of damage. But 2-man advantage now for VP. This is looking pretty dangerous for Kinguin. It is these looser, faster rounds with the pistols, with a few strong weapons here and there that both these teams seem to have struggled with a little bit on Nuke. And it does seem it's not been ironed out coming into Mirage.
Definitely not so far. They are currently looking down the barrel of a reset, and that could be a lot of trouble for them. If they do get reset here, they're going to be likely forced down to a double eco onto a few players. Did Pasha just trade P250s?
I think so. I think I'm not sure. I think he literally just threw his P250.
I think he was trying to like pretend that he dropped the bomb, but I don't think that's something that they would really fall for. Oh, and actually able to go ahead and get another kill from Underpass. This time it's Reitz that ends up falling. Mao is going to be forced to pretty much just give up that A-bomb site as the smoke goes down. Sure, he finds the 1 kill on the Pasha, but there's not really much that can be done. Taz beginning to back off as he decides it's not really worth rotating. And Mao is being low health as well, going to run away to ensure he can save that M4. And this is likely all they're going to have to work with into this next round. Taz at least actually picking up the op. Surprisingly gives it over to Maus, which could be dangerous if he gets taken down and loses it. But I guess at least he'll be able to maybe pick up a couple of exits if they do get hunted down now.
Yeah, I guess Pasha's brain is just too good for his own good. To be honest, too big. But yeah, Virtus Pro off to a relatively good start early on in this one. You know, Kinguin have not even really been keeping it competitive. Again, it's one of those quick rounds where Virtus Pro were at the danger of reset. They play with a very, very risky kind of strategy, but the reward is also very high. And it does really pay off for them, as you can see now. It's Kinguin coming back at it with another messy, broken force buy. The control of the economy early on for both of these teams is such an issue. But it seems with powerful AWPers on both sides, they're kind of looking to get that AWP out as often as possible. So as soon as one of them is able to do so, they just buy around it.
Yeah, it's not the worst buy, but if they don't manage to make this one work, then it's going to be VP just really being allowed to run away with the lead here early on the T side, which of course would be a real problem for Kinguin. This being the map choice of VP, they definitely are coming in looking a little bit more confident early on. They did also, of course, get off to a pretty solid start on Nuke. We do have to remember that. So yeah, it's not like Kinguin are unable to go ahead and get themselves back into these games, but has been said from the amount of Taz that they do sometimes have struggle trying to close them, and a good start could definitely give them an easier chance with that one, and it's just not been allowed. Pasha and Morel's going ahead and finding a couple of kills. It's all on to Rallen and Meniz now as a bit of an opportunity. Maybe I was going to say Rallen actually being left a bit of a gap in that smoke to try and play with, but eventually being shut down. Meniz now with the op. He probably just is going to have to run away and try and save again, and that may not even be allowed because Neo gets flashed into the spawn. Doesn't manage to actually connect the shots immediately. But as he swaps to the P250, we'll go ahead and finish it off. It's 4-1 now for VP, getting themselves a nice little solid lead that should be extended up to 5 now, because it is going to be, of course, Kinguin having to take an eco.
This is dangerous for Kinguin so far. Sure, the lead is not too huge, but these rounds have not been greatly competitive, and the main issue is, generally speaking, we say that Kinguin's CT side is pretty good across what we've seen this weekend and across, you know, the general HLTV stats. So Virtus Pro getting off to such a strong start on the T side, shutting down the Kinguin CT side early on. Really not looking too great for the Penguins. They need to, in this next rifle round, they need to pick things up. They need to figure out what is going wrong before it gets out of hand.
Yeah, not really. As you said, there's not much that can actually be done in this round. Main focus is going to be on the upcoming gun round, rather. So for now, we would expect VP to easily find that 5th round. And then Kinguin, they're in a position where ideally they only really give up one more round from that point forward. They'll be looking for around 9 or so on the CT side to be at least somewhat happy. So VP off to just a great start. They can just try and grind out a couple more rounds from this point forward, and they'll be putting themselves in a great position. And you can see even now how cautious they're being up against these pistols. They're taking their time. They've got the mid control, going to be using that utility to smoke off the positions, and it looks like it maybe split perhaps coming in towards one of these bomb sites. The question is which one? You can see already, of course, it's, I believe, Morels, who's actually just advancing through the B apartments. He should be able to find info that B is pretty much clear at this point. And as we can see, Pasha, he could be in for a bit of trouble. About to walk into a bit of a crossfire here, but takes down Reeds immediately. Rallen going to be forced back through the smoke, and with that now, VP pretty much have this round confirmed in their favor.
It's a pretty good read by Pasha, actually. That crossfire is very common in most rounds, even with, you know, the rifles and things. So just putting that little smoke down makes it a hell of a lot easier, because the thing is, you peek into the left, you also have to peek into the right. Ooh, Taz has retrieved an AWP here, actually. I was about to say it's pretty much over, the bomb down. And the only one remaining being Taz, but he's managed to pick up this AWP. Does eventually get taken down, but at least tiny bit of damage done, a little bit of money earned for him. Although only $200 with the AWP kill bonus being so low. Did someone just disappear off the server? Or am I seeing things? I think I might be a little bit paranoid.
Not sure. I did not notice. I'm currently on the player cams, of course. Hopefully you're a bit paranoid.
Yeah.
I don't want us to have any more pauses,
okay, cool.
but yeah, seems
there
like
must have been a
good.
weapon getting thrown then or something like that.
Perhaps. It's a decent buy here from Kinguin. They aren't going to have an op, sadly, to work with, but they do have the rifles, a decent amount of utility, and as we can see, they also have keyboards that allow them to go ahead and get aggressive up mid, but Mihu able to go ahead and push in through that smoke, catches Reeds off guard and takes him down. There is luckily enough a trade being brought in, but as we can see, with a bit of a distraction and a lot of the presence towards mid, we do see VP just push out on towards that A-bomb site. They find themselves a couple of openings, and suddenly Taz and Rallen are left to try and save the day. Rallen does actually find a really crucial kill, and now maybe Taz on that flank can come in and take down a couple of players they perhaps may not be expecting this one.
Perhaps. We shall have to see, though. Does all depend on when he strikes. Rallen kind of needs to stay alive as well, but is looking to try and recover things back. The nade in towards Tetris leaves Morels on 6 HP. Could have been a bit of a difference maker. Taz in on the flank, only good for 1. It's all onto Rallen, finds the head of Neo. They were trying to double peek into him. Snatchy holding the angle, looks away at the wrong time. The tap on the bomb going to draw him out, surely, but Rallen gives it away that he's not holding it, and Snatchy will find him as he tries to chase. Saved by Virtus Pro. I don't think there was enough time on the bomb regardless, but all the same, a little bit dicey there. However, it's a 6th round for VP. They continue their streak of rounds, continue to extend the leads as Kinguin lose yet another rifle round. It's really not going well for them early on this CT half.
No, not at all. At this point, they pretty much need to... It's likely they, of course, concede this 7th round here, only having some pistols upgraded with a bit of Kevlar into this round, and at that point, then they're going to have to try and pull it up to 8 rounds to put themselves in a position that they can actually be happy with. So, not looking great. VP coming into Mirage, looking much more confident than we've seen on Nuke. Sure, they actually got the victory back on Nuke as well, but this is just looking a lot more dominant so far. You can see that they definitely have a better idea coming into these rounds about how they actually want to approach them. And it looks like they are going to try and favor on towards A. Going to be actually walking into a little bit of a stack. They could be in for some trouble. Taz able to find 1, but it's Snatchy on the op to go ahead and take down 2. And a man advantage still in play for VP for the moment. It's Rallen on the dig, though. We've seen that he can definitely pick up these rounds on his own. He can go ahead and put it on his shoulder, but this time around it won't actually be allowed. It's all on the Mouse now. Over on the other side of the map completely is yet to even actually try and rotate off of the B-bomb site. But there's not really too much that he can actually get done. We should see the bomb being planted. Taking their time, though.
Yeah, just being careful, obviously, with the fact that it was mainly an A stack. They're a little bit apprehensive. There could still be a player around. But obviously there is not. They eventually get things down. Pasha soon, or Morels, soon to meet Mouse. But regardless, Virtus Pro win out the round. Surviving with that bare minimum of 3. Easy stuff. As it will be a pause coming in. Kinguin need to sort things out. It is really going wrong at this point. getting a little bit demolished. Bit of a juxtaposition from Nuke, because it was fairly back and forth in that first half. And, you know, kind of back and forth towards the end. But Kinguin, unfortunately, just seemed to have hit a brick wall here and not got a great deal of a game plan on how to deal with that. Their CT side, it's in that situation where a weak CT economy, just not able to get it rolling at all. Classic double up setup coming in. This is often something that teams fall back on, whether they're known for it or not, when things aren't going well. The 2 AWPs, even the 3 AWPs can be seen sometimes. I don't think it's that crazy from Kinguin as yet.
I wouldn't like to see a triple up setup. Sure, there's enough positions to make it work with, but then if it comes down to a retake,
and it's kind of like
quite screwed.
It works for that 1 round, but then you know, they quickly figure out a triple up setup. It's just not very consistent.
Yeah, quite easy to counter as well, as long as you can use that utility effectively. So it would be a strange one. But yeah, double up setup is pretty common, as you said. Menez and Mouse is going to be pulling those out. Mouse on the secondary up. I don't think we've seen him pick it up throughout this series quite yet. So let's see what he's going to be able to find with it. But Kinguin pretty much need to pick up the remaining rounds here on the CT side to be able to actually make a somewhat of a respectable scoreline for themselves. And already been pretty much forced to just give up that mid control. They go ahead and back off, don't really want to take that challenge all too much. It allows for VP to actually go ahead and get themselves full control towards short and also leave a player lurking in the connector rather. And as we can see, Neo going to go ahead and find that opening kill. They've already advanced onto the B bomb site where there was only initially 1 player to defend, and as he was dealt with within really just seconds of the push beginning, that gives VP full control. The bomb is planted, and Kinguin, if they can't find a quick entry here to give them a chance on the retake, they may just want to consider saving.
Yeah, nothing really coming at this point for them. I think they are just going to have to back away. Neo has retrieved one of the dropped AWPs, it looks like. But yeah, Kinguin, again, double up setup doesn't really work out for them. VP just a quick little hit on towards B. Take down that first AWP relatively quickly. Or Taz here just have a bit of an opportunity. Snatchy, nice little response from him though on the crouch peek around the corner to get the trade. I don't think it's going to be too bad. Can still kind of buy up or get dropped, but all the same, Kinguin, you know, they lose yet another round. It doesn't really matter about saving weapons, keeping the economy workable, etc., etc. They just need to get rounds on the board, regardless of how it goes or how it ends. It is the journey that kind of counts at this point.
My problem here is Kinguin said they've struggled to close out the close games. How much of a struggle is it going to be when they're just getting completely destroyed?
Yeah.
It's just not looking good for them. They have a bye again, but let's see if this one's going to finally work out for them. Taz in a pretty solid position, actually being boosted up on short, but Morel's able to quite quickly deal with Rallen. He's traded back on, and actually Reed's been able to find a kill elsewhere. It does give a bit of a chance for Kinguin coming into this round, as suddenly it's a 4-on-2. This is the best it's looked for them so far in these gun rounds. And hopefully for their own sake, they will be able to go ahead and capitalize on this. But Snatchy and Mihu, if they can at least drop a couple more of these rifles, make it a costly round, and then they can try and come in this next one, of course, with a reset. So it's not really perfect yet for Kinguin. They need to try and ideally keep up all 4 of these players if they can.
Still not out of the woods yet either, to be fair. Mihu and Snatch have been playing relatively well across the course of the series, so certainly is doable for them. Couple low HP players, split defense. Very little information actually on these final 2 players for Kinguin. Menez going to be that first protocol. Does need to land the shot cleanly. He does indeed. Drops the bomb. Leaves it on to Mihu in the 1-on-4. He has no information to work with, and Mouse will drop him easily with the positional advantage. So second round for Kinguin finally picked up. But now, of course, like you say, that reset on the cards. They survive with the 4 players, but still, they do not want to get their economy demolished here.
Yeah, good work. It looked a little bit awkward after Morels did pick up that opening kill there, of course, but a good job from Taz being able to find those.
I really don't know what that is from Pasha, though. Like, he shoots out the vent, immediately gets a nade out. It just seems a little bit foolish to me.
Yeah, a little bit strange because a lot of the time the player who peeks out from short and gets that kill, they're not going to reface short itself, so they'll ideally go ahead and try and hold that angle towards the lower window. So
yeah, obviously.
The fact that it catches them off guard is a little bit strange, but as we said, it could be a little bit of a blessing in disguise. That's your saying, Scrave. Because they can come in here, if they can manage to pick up this round, it goes ahead and pretty much completely destroys the economy, at least for a couple of players over on the Kinguin side.
Ooh.
And there's Pasha to go ahead and redeem himself already to start things off. Comes in and picks up the second kill towards jungle. Completely opens things up now for VP, as it looks like they may try and actually split in towards that B-bomb site, which of course could be a little bit of an issue. Mouse is going to be actually holding down from Kitchen. He is the sole defender of B. Morel's going to be shot in the back of the head by Taz. And suddenly things are being recovered by Kinguin because they do have an advantage heavily in terms of the HP. Pasha being legged down already. Another kill comes in as Mihu gets dropped on that B-bomb site. And it's a man advantage now for Kinguin as things are beginning to unravel a little bit. It's a tough recovery for Neo and Pasha Biceps, the two legends over on that VP side. If anyone can do it with the experience that they have combined, it definitely would be these two.
That is very true. I think there's maybe an argument to be made for reflexes and things like that, but the mind still has to be there, surely. Neo going to be holding the angle, takes down Reitz easily enough, leaves it all on to Taz. The three stalwarts of Virtus Pro have played together for years and years and years until Taz exited slightly less than cleanly. No kit. There is a kit, in fact. No utility available is what I'm trying to get at. So he has to find these players. He has to run into them. Spots out the first in the apartments. Knows that Neo is nearby as well. Chasing him down and manages to find him. Pasha now just hiding away. It's not really planted for him. Trying to play the bomb. The defuse going to come in. He gets the round. Kinguin have secured it. Pasha, as you can see, is so very annoyed with himself. I think he thought it was slightly further to the right and was planted for him or something. Maybe he got told it was planted for him. The way that he just kind of played that seemed a little bit too sure that it was on his side. Goodness me. Again, it's just a little bit of a blunder. Pasha seemingly not got his head in the game. He is actually top fragging for Virtus Pro right here, but it just doesn't seem like he should be. Some very questionable decisions coming in as Taz gets away with absolute murder, in all honesty. A third round secured for Kinguin, and they are starting to come back into this. VP still do have that solid lead, though, and surviving with no players. You know, Kinguin still got a very, very weak economy. Manisto to open up yet again. And they seem to have hit their groove here on the CT side.
Yeah, that was just a shocking round. VP, they started off great, then it began to unravel. It comes down to the 2-on-1, and then Taz manages to clutch things out somehow. But look at this, Mihu, able to actually just walk up short, take down Taz and Rallen, gives a big opening now for VP to work with in this round. But Reitz, he gets up close on Connector, spotted as the smoke begins to fade on that radar. And with that now, Pasha Biceps been able to find another, does put it into a 2-on-4. Mouse and Maniz, it's the double up setup to try and recover things over on that Kinguin side. As if they aren't able to pick this one up, their economy is going to be completely destroyed. That's a quick shot from Maniz. But the problem is, his teammate isn't going to be as successful over on the other side of the map. The A-bomb site being completely opened up. VP should be able to find that bomb plant. And it's going to be a position, I think, where Maniz is not really going to have much of an option other than to save that up.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate. Kinguin got off to a good start. Maniz, you know, he opens up for them very early on onto the enemy AWPer, but it just kind of falls apart a little bit. 2K for Mihu. And of course, everybody else chiming in a slight amount in certain places, but like I said, that economy for Kinguin very weak indeed, so VP going to be happy to get this one. Not quite the full kind of, you know, demolishing reset maybe that they would so want, but it is really going to leave Kinguin with no option probably other than to force around this AWP at this point. But then rounds like that have worked for them in the past. Maybe they'll eco around it, but the point I'm trying to make, it's just not looking too good right here. Yeah. They are actually going to force that. I think that's kind of the wise decision. Yeah, they have the double eco regardless, so you have to be a bit more proactive. Virtus Pro, though, they get a 9th. This one should be relatively easy for them if they're able to deal with Maniz. And they continue to grow their lead. Kinguin, you know, they come back into it slightly, but perhaps it is, again, a situation of being a bit too late.
Yeah, looking to be just a slow default here from VP. They are aware, of course, that they've come in with that reset onto the economy of Kinguin, so they definitely will be working with a lot of weaknesses. As was pointed out, of course, Moniz as well being dropped down pretty low early on isn't really going to give Kinguin too much of a chance in this round. He's the one with the op, of course, so it's not ideal. But Taz actually able to go ahead and find a pretty long-range kill there on towards ramp and take down Mihu with the CZ. A man advantage in play for Kinguin, but it's Pasha who's been boosted in towards the window position, creeping into CT, spots out Taz, eventually finds that kill, and the question is now where are they going to try and take it, because Rallen, he's been given the opportunity, but he's not going to be able to connect it. Pasha shuts him down. Elsewhere, Neo is able to find a kill, and the trade's just being found consistently here from VP. Keeps them in a very favorable position, and Moniz, as we said, he was tagged up early on. There's not really much that he can do now at 18 health. Bomb already being planted. He's, again, probably just going to have to save that up over so that they have something to work with in this next round, because I would imagine for everyone else it is just going to have to be that full eco.
Yeah, it's not a terrible situation, though, to be fair. It does depend if this AWP goes down. Oh, it's a bit of a shame for Pasha not posting on the jail window. They are looking to hunt this AWP. Do kind of have the money to do so. But like I say, it's not the end of the world. You don't expect, generally speaking, for them to win a round like that. Oh, is that Molotov going to spread to him? He's definitely going to know that he's here now after that smoke, but he's not going to run away. It's just maybe smart, but Pasha actually hunts in towards the smoke. What is going on? Moniz is actually making it away. They're trying to go for the knife kill or something. No scope comes in. The knife, it does actually come through from Snatchy. Goodness me. That is a little bit of a mess. That Molotov, though, from Pasha, certainly, you know, giving away the position of Moniz. So I was going to say, you know, it's not too bad. If they're able to survive with the AWP, they do a little bit of damage, but it's not a round that you really expect them to win. However, that AWP would have been very, very helpful to take into this round, to take into the next gun round if possible.
Exactly. Now they have pretty much nothing coming into this round, I would imagine they probably will have to stick onto mostly default pistols. Maybe they can get a few P250s or so out, but I wouldn't imagine much else to be actually brought into play. And it's VP going for a tactical pause. Again, we see the team that's actually leading going ahead and bringing that in.
I respect this. Again, I am a big fan of this kind of coming in and teams using this more effectively.
Yeah, it gives, I guess, Kinguin also a bit of time to discuss, though. But I guess it's not the biggest of deals. Of course, as we said, it should be just an eco pretty much coming into this round. So it was it is a pretty good position, rather, for VP. But yeah, so some nice boost in terms of the economy for Snatchy as well. That's always nice to see for the Opper. I don't think it really would have been too big of a deal if he didn't find the knife, but it's always nice. It's some confidence as well. It can sometimes tilt your opponent a little bit, and as I said, coming into this round now, it's just a few upgraded P250s, a Zeus onto Rallen, a couple of flashes for Moniz, and it looks like they are preparing to try and just pounce on this mid position once they actually hear the footsteps from VP. Which should be pretty soon, because Pasha is making the presence known, but that's a nicely placed Molotov. That's a perfect counter to what they were actually trying to go for. As you can see, they try and push forward. They're going to take so much damage from the Molotov. A second one was thrown in as well. And Pasha is just cleaning things up, looking much stronger here on Mirage than he was on Nuke. A lot more crisp with that aim, indeed, as it comes down to just Moniz now actually alive over on the Kinguin side. Very little he can do, as his position now is also going to be known.
Yeah, I think it is very much like an argument to be made for some of the older players on that Virtus Pro side that it's more of a confidence thing, it's more of a mental thing. I think that the skill is still there, and clearly there are some, you know, older players that show aging doesn't necessarily make you worse at the game. Forrest is still consistently really good for NIP. Get Right as well, you know, has some really good games quite consistently. So I think it is something that's in their minds that definitely is kind of playing on them, like, oh, have I fallen off? Oh, I should have gotten that. Oh, 2 or 3 years ago, I would have easily found this 1 versus 2 or whatever. So I think it's difficult. There may be a bit of a case to be made that Neo and Pasha kind of have to go back to like square one to figure things out. Taz is a little bit different. Mihu Morel's going to pick up 2 very quick kills. Moniz up close, does manage to find Pasha though, and trying for another. Flashes coming in, they're also very blind. The sprays are crazy from both sides. It is VP seemingly to come out on top of things though, as it's into a 4 versus 2 retake for Kinguin to try and recover this half back. Obviously no option to save. Looks like they really wish they could do. Snatchy gets the final kill through his teammate. And it'll be a 12-3 half from Virtus Pro. Absolute demolition from them on their T side of Mirage. This is really not what we expected coming into this. It's a bit of a middle ground kind of map for Kinguin, but here it seems like it's a map they should not have let get through the veto.
Yeah, clearly it's rear wheel drive and the plow is getting rolling. Neo and Pasha in the background, the other three just going ahead and cleaning things up. It's Pasha, of course, who's actually been performing pretty well here on Mirage. I think he is up towards the top of that scoreboard. We can actually see it at the moment, of course, but we will have a look. Yeah, 19th and 9 currently, so he's having a great performance. Behind him is Mihu on 12 to 9. We usually expect Mihu to be up there as well, so it's just kind of who can actually join him on the scoreboard.
It's just kind of that thing that I was sort of saying, maybe the confidence, he gets off to a good start and it plays well for the rest of the game. It was something when, you know, VP initially started to fall off with that original lineup. Pasha was still consistently fragging quite well, to be fair. It was more like Snacks and Bialy were really disappointing away from where they were generally towards the top of the scoreboard when VP were in its heyday, so to speak. So I think, again, it is still there, especially for Pasha. It is still there for him to pop off and carry a game. It's just, I feel like it has to be all a mental thing at this point.
And coming into the second half now, it of course goes without saying that if Kinguin aren't able to pick up this pistol round, we'll be looking at a game that's pretty much done with. VP 12 to 3 is what they lead by as they head onto the CT side, and they're looking to try and get aggressive. Rallen actually expecting perhaps for this push to come through the underpass, pretty quickly able to shut down Pasha, and Mihu suffering a similar fate as he tried to fall back off to safety. Wasn't allowed, of course. There was a single trade to be found elsewhere by Neo, but Kinguin, they will be pretty happy being able to find themselves a 4-on-3 early on. Still have that utility as well in play in the hands of Taz if they do want to go ahead and try and approach one of these bomb sites later on. They will have to do so, of course, but if they want to use those, they can. And it looks like they might favor just straight over towards A. With one smoke and one Molotov, it'll be interesting to see where they actually try and throw those towards, because there's just a lot of different positions. It kind of depends on the setup from the CT side, and as we can see, it's actually Neo who's on that A side of the map, aggressive in towards Palace.
Yeah, Snatchy, meanwhile, is aggressive in towards B-App, so he's discovered that it's probably going to be an A hit. So they're kind of ready for this hit. Morel's trying to creep in. Oh, quick little headshot on towards Taz. Meanwhile, flank coming in. Neo as well in a really awkward spot, and they clean it up. They don't even need Snatchy. 2 kills coming in for Morels, and Neo towards the end now will secure Virtus Pro that pistol, and Kinguin, it looked good for just a second, but I think all hope once again is lost. Things are really not looking good for this T side. Jesus.
Damn.
Those are some live odds, boys and girls.
13.51 to 1.
Goodness me.
Does that mean if you bet on VP, you literally just get what you bet back?
Yeah, I think so. So the bookies are saying VP are going to win this. I feel like that might be a little bit, yeah, don't be betting on VP.
Not at this point anyway, with the live odds.
The live odds.
It wouldn't really be worthwhile. Although if you bet on Kinguin and they somehow pulled off a comeback, that would be ridiculous.
Yeah, to be fair. you might as well just bet like a tenner. You get like
I wouldn't.
130 back.
I don't think this comeback has happened in Scriv, so that's some bad advice in my opinion. But yeah, fully go into this one, we should see a 14th round being picked up by VP quite easily. 4 MP9s coming in, they're confident, they're looking to try and build up economy, and that's exactly what's going to be happening. Morels and Mihu, the double M combo, just going to be shutting things down. Maniz was the final player to fall. And with that now, it's VP only 2 rounds away from picking themselves up the victory.
Yeah, this is a bit of a juxtaposition from the past map. Something that we sort of talked about a little bit, obviously, having Sponge and Maniac here, 2 very experienced players. It's kind of, you talk a little bit about playing in a series, you can burn yourselves out quite easily when it's a long game. I think it was yesterday in the winners final between NRG and Liquid, right? It was a very close game in the second map, and then Liquid come back and absolutely demolish on that third one. So it's pretty prevalent that you can just put a bit too much energy, which I suppose you should, to try and win the first map, especially how this one's gone. Kinguin proving that they really needed to win Nuke. But yeah, there is such a case as just really burning yourself out, and then you don't have anything left in the tank, so to speak. Especially when you feel like you should have won that first map. I think that's always the case. You're in a spot where there was like 4 or 5 rounds where they should have been able to clean it up. And VP essentially mounted a comeback and then also kind of demolished you in overtime. It's like, is the mental fortitude there? You've also come off of a run of poor LAN results over the past month or so. It's all going to be playing on their mind right now on that Kinguin side, and it seems to be having the worst effect possible at this point.
yeah, if they aren't able to pick up this round, then it looks like we probably would see VP being able to close it out with an extremely convincing scoreline. So, Kinguin, this gun round is going to be extremely important. They need to pick this up if they want to give themselves any form of a chance to actually try and begin to work their way back into this game to at least make it a respectable fight coming out from their side. And as we can see, early on, they're able to get themselves a bit of mid-control at least. VP carrying over a couple of SMGs. They decide to just kind of stick back towards the bomb sites. They have a couple of M4s alongside the op, of course, but it's Pasha and Morel to kind of keep over those bonus weapons. And we're just around 45 seconds now. I was going to say this could get a little bit dangerous for Kinguin when they begin to push in towards those bomb sites, but with some aggression being found towards the B apartments, it gives them a bit of an opportunity. Looking to try and split on towards B, and sadly for Morels with that MP9 at mid-range, it's not going to be all that effective. Taken down pretty quickly, but that Molotov is actually going to be pretty useful. It does go ahead and heavily delay that push for Kinguin out through the B apartments.
Yeah, and there's not a great deal of time remaining either in this round. So they have to very quickly reposition to A. Taz taking matters into his own hands. Manice spots out Snatchy. Probably heard Mihu here as well. Snatchy, though, it doesn't even matter. They know that he's there. He don't care. He manages to take down Taz. Bomb is going to get planted, trying to be a little bit proactive here on the CT side. It's all on to Snatchy to find 3 more. He has brought it into the 1 versus 2. They're both repositioning to play this post-plant effectively. Kit is available, so plenty of time. Money is a bit of an issue, but they've got so many rounds in the lead, he might as well just try and go for this. Trying to get the ninja defuse in the smoke. I don't think it's really going to work out. He gets stuck on triple. And at this point, I think he has to back away. Yeah, the smoke's pretty terrible, so it's probably for the best. Saving that AWP is seemingly the better option. I think because he picked up the first 2, he kind of saw the highlight play in his mind, but unfortunately just kind of completely messes it up, getting stuck on triple, the smoke nowhere near the bomb.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that he actually did end up just throwing that down towards the I guess, kind of ramp plant position, because, of course, he, I guess, realized that the bomb wasn't there, or at least should have when he peeked it and saw that it wasn't up close. But, yeah, it's a round coming in for Kinguin. Eventually, they get themselves a bit of a lifeline now for them to try and work back into this game, but still, it's such a long road ahead, and not only do they have to try and come back from a 14-4 deficit here on this map, but even if they do manage to somehow pull it back and get the victory here on Mirage, there's another map for them to deal with, because, of course, VP, they did pick up that 19-16 victory on Nuke. So coming in now, VP, they have another pretty solid buy. As we said, Pasha and Morel didn't upgrade in that previous round. It means they actually do have a double up setup coming into this round. And Snatchy pushing straight through that smoke. He got spammed down low and still didn't actually shy away from the aggression. And it does end up paying off for him. Pasha going to be able to find one on towards Rallen as well. And suddenly Kinguin again being put on the back foot, as it looks like we may see VP being able to reach themselves map and series point. Unless we can see a bit of a miracle from the remaining Kinguin players.
Something that we saw Kinguin go for is that double AWP setup. When you're on the back foot in general, or you lose a round here or there, it's often something that's good to go for. When you're so far ahead, it's another dynamic that the T side have to deal with. VP make good work of that double AWP setup, catching off their opponents with it. So it looks like it should be another round for VP. One would think, mathematically speaking. Logically, this is generally how it goes. Morel's, though, needs to be careful. I don't think he's aware that Miles is so far pushed up. They will end up fighting each other, left on low HP, but at least trying to bring things back into contention. There's little bits of control being gained by Kinguin here and there. Mid-control at the moment being used to get up connector. Pasha holding the crack angle. Neo on the crossfire with him. Manages to find one, but immediately traded. Pasha is a little bit apprehensive to act. I think that means the bomb is going to go down. The fake plant comes in from Manice to pick him up. Completely misses the reaction. Only 10 seconds. The bomb plant will come in. Snatchy was ready for Taz to move back out. It's all on to Manice in a 1-on-2. He's already found himself 2, so the 4K would be very nice indeed. Moves in through his own smoke. Going to go above on the toll booth. They line up, but he cannot find it. The match point secured by Virtus Pro. They have 11 rounds in a row to secure this 2-0 victory as well. Going to take plenty of time to find that double AWP setup once again. And Kinguin's hopes of any kind of a comeback are now being quashed.
Yeah, plenty of chances here for VP to just go ahead and close things out, and the first of those is probably going to be the easiest one, of course, as we see. It's not a great buy from Kinguin. They have a couple of rifles coming out. Maniz, maybe you can grab a Galil as well. That's what he's going to go for, but it means, of course, that they don't really get all that much utility to try and back things up. So not looking good. It was a close match back on Nuke, but coming into Mirage, Kinguin clearly weren't able to get themselves rolling at all. They never really even got themselves present on the server. It was, I believe, at best able to pick up kind of just isolated rounds, never been able to chain any together to actually get anything rolling.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a hard one to watch if you're a Kinguin fan. And I suppose the few of us that kind of predicted them to win was close on Nuke, but this is really a surprise that they are so easily walked over. I would have said these teams are relatively kind of even at the moment in terms of the depth and the tactics and whatnot. A bit of a mess as they all fly out of Palace. It does eventually go the way of the CT side. Ryland's able to creep in, but he's lost his teammate. He's so low, and that will be it. 2-0 in favor of Virtus.pro. Pasha having a great game over on Mirage, certainly a little bit unexpected, but Kinguin getting completely ripped apart, picked apart on that second map. It is so surprising to see, especially after Nuke being so close, but clearly the mental fortitude for them just wasn't there going into that second map.
Yeah, I agree. They said that they do have issues, of course, with closing out maps. That was clearly what happened on Nuke, and they just never got themselves into Mirage. It was a complete stomp coming in from Virtus.pro. Just showing that they, coming into their own map choice, they felt a lot more comfortable, and just looking solid overall. We've seen them, of course, when they played against Liquid, putting up a pretty solid performance on Mirage as well. I think it was 16-10 that they ended up losing in the end, and showing that it definitely is a map that they can play and be pretty comfortable on, which is something that I think they have been lacking for a while. Their map pool hasn't really been that large, which is something you do need, of course, to be a top-level team nowadays.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's certainly something that, you know, is kind of interesting to consider, is the fact that again, aged core of VP were always very good on Mirage, and then moving across to some of these newer players, Snatchy really does seem at home with that AWP. The double AWP setup towards the end was really, really effective. So I think Mirage is certainly one that maybe teams start to look towards, and maybe the fact that Kinguin have that permaban of Inferno is what kind of, you know, screwed them over a little bit in the veto. But then we all expected them to, at the very least, take Nuke. Even on the desk, the people that predicted for VP said that it would be a 3-mapper.
Yep.
So it is a little bit of a surprise all around, to be honest.
Yeah, I think pretty much all of us were expecting that 3-mapper, but the thing was, we were saying that Nuke would pretty much be a confirmed win for Kinguin, and sadly not being able to do that with the momentum then going in favor of VP. They made it pretty convincing to just go ahead and close things out.
Yeah, for sure. But either way, that's going to be it from us for that first series. 2-0 in favor of VP, and now we've got Pasha Biceps to give you the rundown of that victory.
This derby is over, and it is a Virtus.pro who takes down Kinguin and advances in the tournament. Now, with me is Pasha Biceps from Virtus.pro. Pasha, that first map was all over the place. Crazy rounds, clutches, overtime. Did you expect to play Nuke today?
We know we're going to play Nuke. It's a very good map from Kinguin. It was map of a lot of mistakes. We make mistakes, Kinguin make mistakes, and who make more mistakes, this team probably lost. So it was probably a bit luck, a bit, you know, like happy ending.
Now, Mirage was the complete opposite. You guys took off like a rocket and didn't even stop until the 16th round. Did you prepare a lot, or did you just feel comfortable?
We played versus them last week, the Nuke Mirage, and we know a lot about this map. We know the Kinguin have a better Nuke for sure. We know how to play T side. We prepare just, we built our confidence before Mirage, and we know it will be a good map for us.
Now finally, since it's a Polish matchup, you have a lot of fans watching at home and some here at the arena as well. Do you have anything to say to them?
I love you, my friend.
Well, thank you very much, Pasha. Congratulations once again. Now, Virtus.pro are heading on to play the decider match later today, and we are heading on to the analyst desk to see what James and the boys make of this.
You can't help but love Pasha. What a guy, as VP do it in style. And actually, Pasha is one of the people I think we can talk about to start off with, right? He was having a bit of a monstrous game. Then we get to see him looking strong. And I don't just mean his biceps this time around. It was in the server. And that's what we wanted to see, right? We spoke about it time and time again. What can Pasha deliver? Can we see him step up to where he was? But let's start with this thing, right? VP, mid-control, dominance, and they were just looking clean.
Yeah, I had reminiscence of the old VP on Mirage. You know, I'm talking years back. Some people at home maybe don't remember what I'm talking about. There used to be a time where VP on Mirage would be extremely hard to play. They would take mid control, they would take connector, they would take short, and as a CT, you would never know where they were going to go. Never know. It was impossible because there were pressure on both sides of the map, and you had to always make blind decisions. Yeah, we're going to stack the A side, we're going to stack the B side. And in that sense, Kinguin could never stop VP from taking middle. They had all the opportunities. They could go into the B split, they could go back to A, they could go back to execute on A. So VP had much too much freedom, and also Pasha turned up. And you know, he had a quiet game on Nuke, but on Mirage, he had a lot of impact kills. And if this can carry on further, that would be very nice for VP.
But one thing there, actually, I'd say is on Nuke, it started off quite 100%, but you realize once he kind of gave up on trying to AWP outside and we saw him change it up, he rose a bit. I just didn't expect what we saw on Mirage, and that was what was so enjoyable to see.
Yeah, it seems like they changed around how they were approaching things, and it's nice to see everybody on that team having that cohesion, right? We saw towards the start of Nuke, one of the problems was it was just one player doing all the work, right? It was Mihu, I think, who was top of the scoreboard. And right here, you just have that consistent performance from everybody. The trades are coming in when someone goes down, and Kinguin just found no openings at all. That's what you want to be doing if you're going to be competing against teams like NRG, who they're now up against in the next round.
And this is the thing, right? VP going up against NRG, obviously, we won't go into detail on it now, but that's going to be interesting just because we saw the Kinguin versus NRG result as the first game, right? So let's see how this plays out from here, kind of thing.
We all know the limits of mathematics in Counter-Strike. You know, when you say, okay, if this team played 15-15 against this team, then they won. It doesn't really work like that. But it's true that what we've seen.
My dreams, Maniac.
I'm sorry.
My VP dreams.
I would like it to be the case. But what I can say though is what we've seen from VP on this map. If they can deliver that against NRG, yes, different kind of enemy, but the attitude is here. Like they took control of the game. They played the clutches pretty well. I wouldn't say they did as many mistakes as they did on Nuke. I think Pasha mentioned it in an interview. I think he was right. They made a few mistakes on Nuke. I said it in the pre-segment. They could have closed Nuke earlier. They didn't do that on Mirage. They played a much cleaner game. They had the clutches completely under control. I mean, as I'm mentioning it, we could see Taz almost ninja defusing. I mean, ninja defusing against Pasha, that doesn't make my point at all. But general, a much cleaner map from VP, and they're going to need that against Energy, which is, all due respect to Kinguin, a different type of opponent.
Massively so, right? And okay, we talk about domestic matches so often. Do you feel that Kinguin they fell apart after the Nuke game? Do you think things started to crumble for him here? Because I did expect more of a fight on this map in particular.
I mean, it's always a little bit like we're only supposing, right? We're only making hypotheses. We don't know what's really happening in their heads, but I think it's fair to say there has some kind of mental aspect to it. You know, they were close to winning the first map. I think they had to win the first map. I think they knew that they had to win Nuke. And you could see the impact they had on Mirage. The shots were in here. The decisions were a little bit too slow or even wrong. So yes, I think it factored in. But it's also one of the challenge of being a top team is that you're able to, you know, fall and get back up and play your A game even though you made mistakes on the map before that.
We said that coming into this, right? That one of the win conditions was sort of that Kinguin took Nuke if they could build the momentum. Even if they fall down on Mirage, it brings us to an even ground in the end on Dust. But yeah, Mirage is just such a strong map for VP right now. It's difficult to take them down, and you know, Kinguin as well. I don't think the coming so close in the first map and then falling off really helped them. And taking a look at the kills there, you can see Pasha Bicep certainly did step it up throughout the whole of the series. You gotta say though, like when you've got the top kills, 4 out of 5 of them are on your team. It's difficult to fight that. And what's interesting is the AWP was really nice on Minai's, right? He's had some really nice plays, but just not consistently enough.
I think we can also see Snatchy and Mihu. In my opinion, they have been the most consistent players for VP recently, and this is a very good sign. I think they would need Morels to step up, because when Morels wasn't in VP yet, he was one of these prospects in Poland. You would look at him and think, wow, this guy has talent. He has raw potential. He has a mechanical skill. Now he's in a good situation to kind of, you know, flourish as a player, because he's with Neo, he's with Pasha. These people have played all the LANs, all the majors. If they can teach him, nurture him into being like a bigger player, I mean that team could work, but it's still a long road, and it's just one series, so you have to be careful with the conclusion that we draw from.
I think one thing that's kind of interesting is, despite the fact that Snatchy was down there on the kills, he was only on 14, so he's like bottom of the scoreboard for VP. He still comes out with a 2 KD, and that's kind of testament to why a lot of the time I wouldn't even say that Mihu and Snatchy were inconsistent. wasn't there. They didn't get the opportunities because Pasha was eating everybody up. And it's that kind of thing. When some of those players don't step up, Snatchy and Mihu bring that consistency and they get top of the scoreboard. But when the whole team is performing, it's very difficult. And oh my God, what a head-to-head to see.
It's always weird to see, right? Pasha against Taz in a head-to-head.
You know, sometimes I still, like, I was doing my notes at the beginning, and I just wrote VP Taz just out of habit, and I'm like, nope, okay, cross that one off.
Yeah.
Kinguin must remember. It's just so normal.
But you could see that kid in the arena. He had like, we love you VP, and it was still the Snacks and Taz lineup on it, and it's just right in the fields. It's
Exactly,
right in the
man.
fields.
All those memories, it comes flooding back, but this is a new age in the Polish Counter-Strike scene, and VP here, at least this is a good win against Kinguin, right? This solidifies at least the VP at the moment. Still can say we're on the top spot, but it's now the next challenges that this is where it's going to get interesting. How does VP progress from here? Because if they just bow out and get dominated by NRG, I think we can go, okay, still a fair amount of work to do. But I really want to see like a good, strong game. I want to see that kind of Mirage performance and also the ability to bounce back in a map like Nuke. I want to see that kind of fire come out of these guys.
I mean, obviously, that's what we hope, right? But it is true, I think it's going to be a different kind of test. And even if they were to lose against Energy but really put up a fight, then we would say, okay, okay, there is improvement. Something's happening. Something's, you know, we say in French, la sauce prend, the sauce is taking. It doesn't work at all. It's a culinary metaphor. Basically, the meal is working together, you know? So if they can fight against Energy, yes, that would be a good sign. But if they get destroyed, we're back to... So, yes, they did. The first step is done. They beat Kinguin quite decisively. Yeah, they take Kinguin's map and they destroy them on their map. So, job done for there. Now it's the next step, and it's not going to be that easy.
No, that's the thing, right? That's where we kind of get with it. By the way, I love it when you drop a little bit of French in there as well.
I think I want to do that.
The accent just comes in again. It slides in, and we're like, there we go. We get some joy with it. Gonna give us a full Irish attempt as well. We got a full mixed desk at the moment. Full mixed desk.
We're all right.
Don't want to be thrown on the bus like that again. Don't want to hit that.
My Irish is substandard. Let's put it that way.
Now, looking at what we saw there from VP, we're all very happy with it. But I think the main thing for Kinguin now is what do we do to go back to the drawing board? How do we... Because one of the things that Taz spoke about is like, okay, look, we need a bit more time. But he's like, we've got a good spirit. We've been grinding out the online games, and in the first interview, right, that we had yesterday with him, his thing was like, we just need to keep a good mentality, good motivation, be focused. Well, that didn't show in Mirage. These are the times where we need to actually see that happen. You can't just talk it; you've got to be able to walk it as well.
Yeah, well, the problem is that when you have, okay, I think I see it as a vicious cycle, right? First issue is, as Taz said, they have issues closing maps that they should win, which is arguably what happened on Nuke. They had 14-10 lead. They were in a very good position to close it. They let it go. And they enter the second map, presumably with the worst attitude, or at least doubting, being maybe angry, a little bit frustrated. So you could see how every problem kind of goes back to the other one, and it's furthering like an issue deeper and deeper. So I don't know where you have to say, this is what we need to work on. I would say working on your mentality is always something that you have to do on the everyday basis. It's not dependent on the map, not dependent to the event. It's an everyday job. And then closing maps, well, that's, as you said, back to the drawing board, playing practice very seriously. I think some teams maybe take the practice a little bit too easy. You can use practice to, you know, play it very strictly. If you have to win a round, you win it. So in that sense, yes, more practice. And if they can close maps that they should win, maybe they don't enter the second map and get destroyed.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? We didn't end up going to a third on this one, and we're moving on to Big versus Gambit next, which is going to be an interesting one to come into. But any closing thoughts, any final thoughts on what we saw from these guys going into it?
VP are looking good. They've had a strong performance here on map number 2. I think coming up against NRG, it's a difficult battle. We saw Kinguin do well, but again, the mathematics behind that don't always add up. And the other thing behind it is it's Kinguin's favorite map of Train. If you look at VP, okay, one of their strongest is Mirage. You see NRG versus them on Mirage? I don't think we're going to see too many cracks in that NRG lineup being exposed. Look, it's a good series for VP and a lot to build on.
Yeah, I agree with Mitch. My heart's been broken by VP too many times, so I'm going to be careful, right? The series was nice from them. I liked what I've seen, but I'm waiting to, you know, witness it against Energy. That's going to be a different kind of ball game.
Well, we've got Big versus Gambit coming up next, and that is the one that's going to be the kind of telling sign on where Big sat at the moment, right? Because we've got a kind of position of not a great first game against Tyloo, but this is a weakened Gambit. This is a Gambit that we saw yesterday. That, okay, they had a couple of moments, but they didn't really have anything that they could hold strong on. And the reason for that is because you literally had someone join your team on loan 24 hours before with no practice at all.
They had
There's only so much.
4 hours to speak with him when he got here, so it's difficult to. Yeah, it's essentially a mixed team at that point, and up against Big. I mean, look, the one thing we said before, Big's a prep-heavy team.
Yeah.
And so when they're taking on Gambit, a mixed team, it
You
could
can't
upset
prep for
them.
that. Yeah, you can't prep for that in any way. Well, we're done for this segment and we're done for now, but we're going to go to a quick break. And when we come back, it's going to be time for our second best of three. Will Big make it through? Or will Gambit come out with a surprise? It's going to be an interesting game for sure because you never know what you're going to get. So stick with us and we'll see you in just a few minutes.